He wanted to change the system they lived in. To allow people like Mai Maki, and people like Toji to thrive with their own talents or desires. Naruto wanted to become a grade, even become special grade, to work alongside his ridiculous cousin to change how the world worked. Naruto Uzumaki, defect of the Gojo clan, wanted to put a bit of a positive twist on the Jujutsu world. The series name is What If Naruto Was in Jujutsu Kaisen Universe. So let's start the series. A boy gasped as kneeled by a grinning woman's bedside, the woman's long white hair with a single, just as long, crimson-red streak shifting as she giggled a bit. "He's amazing, isn't he, Satoru-kun?" The woman asked the boy with another grin as he blinked in awe once more, her violet eyes getting a nod out of him. The boy was young, about 11 years old, and sported a similar head of white hair compared to her, but his was pure white all the way around and short, bearing similar fair skin to herself. The most notable detail about him was his eyes. Those eyes of their clan, the Gojo clan, special eyes that weren't normal by any stretch of the imagination, with powers impossible to deny once they were fully matured. But for now, they were just bright and blue, like her baby's left. Satoru Gojo blinked again before leaning forward more, raising a shaky finger to slowly prod the cheek of the baby. It pudged, and he was left gaping as the woman laughed. "Keikushin Abakan. His cheeks are like Play-Doh." Satoru gaped as Kushina Gojo, not Uzumaki, grinned. "Yep. Lil Nara's a bit of a miracle." Kushina snickered as the boy gawked at the baby again. The baby boy, Naruto Uzumaki, opened peach-skinned eyelids to reveal those big old sapphire eyes that left Satoru awed, the boy focusing on the left one that held a similar coloration to his eyes. "I don't get it," he said after some thought, pudging the baby's cheek again, the short blonde fuzz on Naruto's head getting a small finger rub from Gojo. Why don't they like him?" Satoru pouted as Kushina smiled sadly. "They think Naruto-kun is a bad fortune," she sighed. "Because of his hair?" "Well, that and the fact that he has no hint of cursed energy." Satoru blinked. Do babies have cursed energy?" he asked, confused. "Yes, most humans are born with cursed energy. Stress, pain, and a bit of anguish can cause energy to form, even in babies," Kushina said as she brushed one of the baby's cheeks. "But Naruto-kun is different, very different. Tell me, Satoru, how far in your studies have you gotten? Say, for example, in the subject of cursed energy on the advanced level?" "I'm not there yet," the way the boy grumbled had her ruffling his hair. It's all so boring, can't they make it interesting?" Satoru pouted. "But well, I kinda get most of the intermediate stuff." "Okay, then you won't know this. There are those who can be born without any cursed energy," Kushina explained as he raised a brow, the woman placing a hand on his shoulder, his light blue kimono, covered in black dragonflies, shifting as she did. "For example, there's a man in the Zenin family who has none, and then there are those 2 girls from that man's brother. It's not uncommon in the Zenin clan for such a situation to occur, but for us, it's downright super rare." Satoru observed her, and then Naruto. "But so what? He's still a Gojo, right? To me and you?" "Yes, Naruto's as much family to us as he is to everyone else, but they don't want to recognize that. They're rather annoying that way, those old people." She groaned and he snickered, getting a hair ruffle out of her. "Ha! Then I can do it, right? I'm the next in line." Satoru grinned as she chuckled. "You'd be his hero. I'm sure Naruto's going to want to be accepted no matter what. He has that look in his eyes that he'll be a little troublemaker but be the bravest, kindest, most odd kid around," she chuckled. "He's going to face a lot of hardship, Satoru-kun. We need to be around for those times to guide him." Satoru Gojo had no issue with that, he was quite willing. This boy who was his cousin made him feel so protective. NRK. 7 years later, Satoru pushed up his small black sunglasses with a grin and a smirk, watching his aunt and his cousin chat in the field they'd gone to. The young man had grown well over the years, hitting a strong growth spurt and standing near 6 feet even at the tender age of 18, even if Kushina would tease him over how slim he was. He was quite built beneath his clothes, thank you very much, wearing a black double-breasted jacket with a single golden button on his left breast, a pair of fitted black pants, and some black dress shoes. He adjusted his sunglasses once more before walking to the 2, a bag underarm with some nice-smelling treats inside. "Yo, auntie! Squirt!" he called out to the 2, both his relatives perking up and looking at him. Satoru. The two called out with grins that he reciprocated. Well, I guess Uncle is still abroad? Satoru asked as he crouched down by the two, holding out the bag. I got dango, he said mysteriously. Kushina smirked at him, taking the offering. You're gonna have this old lady feeling cherished. You're 27, in what world are you old? Some say our 20s and teens are light years apart. Sounds about right. Naruto, the youngest of the Gojo family, snickered as she pinched his nose. Cuz. He said nasally as Kushina pouted. How is it my genes made you like this? The woman groaned. You should have taken some of Minakun's genes. I'm special. Yeah, you are, Satoru snickered as the boy was handed a stick of dango by his mother. So, what has normal life been like, Naruto-pion? The boy's face scrunched up, those whisker marks on his cheeks more pronounced as time went on while the white bandana around his left eye scrunched. God, I'm gonna hit someone in the head eventually. Many believed said marks were more superstitious nonsense that meant bad things. Going so far as to have the blonde hide his special eye and tell him to dye his hair. Satoru just thought the kid was more unique than even himself. What with those fox-like features? So, of course, he treated him like a rabbit, obviously. The boy chopped down on his food while wearing an annoyed look. I hate it. Who decided I needed to learn all the history of my clan? There are way too many scrolls. Yeah, I think the same thing, Satoru agreed wholeheartedly as Kushina snickered. Yes, you two are birds of a feather, she said before groaning. Why is it like my life is so blessed when it's so annoying? Those old guys are way too nosy, Naruto huffed as Satoru hummed with a nod of agreement. They keep saying that if Mom's gonna be harboring me, the boy twitched his fingers. We might as well move to the Kyoto sect. You're moving? Satoru balked. Yes, it's why Minato has been going abroad recently, Kushina admitted. I mean, to be fair, it's not like we, or you, can visit. We'll just be at the other sector, in their words, she huffed before twitching her own fingers. To strengthen our hold in that school or some such nonsense. It's really annoying databaying. Totally databayo, Naruto said with a flat expression as Satoru snickered. So yeah, gonna be heading towards Kyoto, Aniki, he added, biting off another dango. I hope I can make an actual friend there, especially with how everything is in Tokyo. Well, I'm sure I could find you some friends. Satoru grinned as Naruto wore a look of complete concentration. Is that why Utane-chan hates you? Because I don't think you're good at friends. Oh, Kushina smirked. Yeah, they'd all be fine. NRK. A week later, Naruto Uzumaki was many things. A reincarnate as this second life would offer him. A reject, it seemed, in the eyes of his clan's elders. And cousin to one of the most powerful jujutsu sorcerers known to mankind, it seemed. Still didn't stop him from trying to fight him, though. Wearing a pair of blue pants tied at his ankles, a sleeveless orange vest over a mesh shirt, and weighted bands on his ankles and wrists, he came feet first down on Satoru's head. The attack was blocked with a raised forearm from the older Gojo before the man swung out lazily, Naruto already down on the ground before he punched at his midsection. Satoru smirked as he blocked it with an open palm before raising a brow as the boy grabbed said palm and swung over it to nearly knee him in the nose. Nearly. Naruto was spun by the hand that grabbed his knee before he righted himself and crossed his arms. Satoru's weak palm strike sent him flying for a bit before he recovered without too much trouble against the stone pathway. Go Naruto-kun cheered a young woman on the sidelines, sitting next to a couple others who threw their own forms of encouragement at the fighters. Beat him up, said one particular woman. Utane, I'm trying, Naruto stated. He's just full of nonsense. I know, Utahan Mayori, or Utane-chan, pointed dramatically at Satoru. Being a woman with fair skin, long purplish-black hair set in a pair of pigtails that rested against her chest, and brown eyes, she wore a white shitage, red hakama, the pants high on her waist, and a pair of flexible black shoes. Satoru Gojo. Go die. Rude, the man said with an innocent look. Ma-haim-chan, don't you dare, you son of the woman began to grow heated before chuckling came from her side. Ghetto. Don't stop me. Stop you? Came the voice of a young man around Gojo's age, height, and build, the man's skin fair, eyes black, and hair black pulled up into a bun with a single odd bang coming down the left side of his face. No, please keep going. Satoru, you suck. Wearing a uniform similar to Satoru, his pants were much baggier while he wore shoes comparable to Yutaheim's. HHAA? The young man in question's eyebrow twitched as Naruto snickered. You trying to come and get your ass kicked? Don't speak like that in front of children. Yutaheim said as the first young woman snickered. She was shorter than the rest, even Yutaheim, who stood at an average height, with chin-length brown hair, fair skin, and brown eyes, wearing a similar outfit to Gojo. Shoko, please, you have to help me teach him a lesson. Come on, it's not like Naruto's not spent a few years around us. Shoko snickered some more. Besides, do you honestly think that hanging with Gojo leaves you innocent in the ears? I think I heard him curse at Geto the first week we met. Yutaheim's head mechanically turned to the now looking away Satoru. And Naruto-kun? Nope, not yet, Naruto declared with a bright smile as the woman sighed in relief, while Satoru whistled innocently. Though I can tell, he's very close to breaking, the boy said without remorse. Gojo, come on. The man choked. It's not like I did curse around him. He's so bad at this, Geto said as Shoko snickered. You'd think he'd be better at dealing with her, but I guess that's Naruto's effect. Obviously, she said as Yutaheim and Satoru argued over happened and didn't happen. Satoru used to be a lot more Shoko thought of the word. An idiot? Yeah, that, she grinned. Nowadays, he's an idiot who basically has a little brother. I wonder how he'll be when they're in Kyoto. I mean, it's not like it'll be more dangerous than if they weren't. Kushina-san is noted as having the most cursed energy known to man. Well, she used to, he said, looking curious. You know, I know, Satoru said. At one point, her cursed energy was so impossible to recognize when he was younger. She's his favorite relative, of course, he'd notice. Shoko hummed at that. I mean, I can't imagine what that's like, but couldn't it have just been before he'd hit some black flashes? No, I think Satoru's understanding of energy is beyond our understanding. I have to assume it's as he theorized. When Naruto was born, all of it nearly vanished? Yep, he thinks there's something off about Naruto's heavenly restriction. Maybe it's me, but I think there's more to it than that, Geto said, observing the blonde boy currently working as mediator between the young man and woman. When Yutaheim picked him up and acted like he was luggage, Geto was laughing again as Shoko smirked. Yeah, he's special in that Yutaheim can't get enough of him, Shoko snorted as they laughed at Satoru's look of betrayal. Anarchy. The following day, Naruto walked around the forests of his home for maybe the last time for the next month. I guess I should tell you, huh, old man? He called out to the forest, orange kimonos shifting in the wind. God, how the hell can you sense me? Came a voice from behind a tree, a man stepping out from behind it with his hand on his head. Honestly, are all kids like you gonna be special? Because I might be out of business if it's true. He was tall, broad-chested, and scarred on his lip. Having fair skin, black eyes, and a mop of black hair that fell over his head, the light gray kimono-wearing man smirked as Naruto turned to him. Don't you know? The next generation's always pretty amazing, the boy chuckled, folding his arms into his sleeves. Brat, ugh, what is it? You're not gonna become the head, are ya? Because you know? Since I've been giving ya ideas, slow your roll there, chief, that ain't it, Naruto chuckled as the man slumped. No, it's just, I'm likely gonna end up being in Kyoto at the end of the month, he said as the man raised a brow. Yeah, due to some elderly meddling, it's no good being here in Tokyo. Honestly, though? Naruto rubbed the back of his head. Let me guess, no chance at making friends? The man asked, crossing his arms. I get ya, I really do. Was it this bad for you, honestly? Worse, the man shrugged as Naruto stared at him in horror. You're lucky you weren't born into the Zenin household. Shit, they'd send you into a pit of second-grade curses every chance they could get if you survived. They did that to you? As a kid? Naruto frowned and the man laughed. That's sick and wrong. Ha! Well, you know, it's at least survivable. I doubt that. I mean, you have a restriction and crazy power. If they chose to actually fight you, pissed I'd win, the man said as the boy rubbed the back of his head. Duh, I said I got thrown in there constantly. Do you honestly think I'd lose to some weak-ass sorcerers? No, I guess you're right, Naruto said with closed eyes as the wind picked up. These clans, their old ways, the people up top, they're so stuck in the past that they can't see beyond their own eyes, he frowned. It needs to change. Big words. Those ain't wrong, but you're up against people who'd find you sneezing enough for a death sentence. I wanna change it, the boy said with determined eyes, looking down at his hands. I'm going to become a special grade sorcerer, I will. Once I do, I'll have some leeway. He grinned as the man shot him a look. Maybe I'll even get you back in, old fart. I'm in my 20s, ya bastard, the man huffed. Humph, he shrugged. At the end of the day, kid, there are some things we can't be and can. I think in the end, with whatever weird-ass power you think you really have, you'll have to realize what those things are. Naruto shot the man a look. Fushiguro-sensei, didn't you literally get married? What happened? I mean, you told me you had a kid. The man rubbed the back of his head. Yeah, well, it's probably for the best for him to grow up without a dad. It ain't in me to raise anyone, I ain't that. But you found love. The man choked on his breath as Naruto smirked. Why, you little shit? Don't go saying that stuff. Fushiguro shivered as Naruto's sweat dropped. Ugh, I can feel myself getting softer because of you. It's my charm, Naruto snickered. Still, I don't think there's such things as can and can't. Life's not that simple. Hell, my cousin ended up a once-in-a-lifetime weirdo. What's to say I can't become a supreme grade badass? Supreme grade. Hey, sometimes you gotta shoot beyond what's there. The man rolled his eyes but shrugged. Don't go and get yourself killed. Whether by a curse, a sorcerer, or even me. These days, they were all right, Fushiguro said as they faced one another. But no offense if it comes between my feelings and my paycheck, I don't think it's gonna be as easy. Maybe, but then I'll just beat you up, take you prisoner, and have you spend your days working as a father in a business, Naruto said cheekily as the man wore a look of disgust. Hey, it's a win-win for you, old man. Don't complain when life gives you lemonade instead of lemons. Humph, whatever, take care, kid, Fushiguro considered something with a huff. Humph. Naruto grinned as his hair got ruffled before the man began to leave. Don't be a stranger, sensei. I'm sure you'll find me one way or another, he said as the man shrugged. Oh yeah, the man made a realizing sound. Megumi, he told Naruto, who blinked, the man ruffling his own hair. I gave him that name, ha ha ha. Naruto laughed as the man grumbled but vanished from sight. You can be a better person than you are, maybe, one day, you'll realize that, he said somberly but with a smile. Sometimes, people need their life to take a drastic turn. Naruto would follow up on his own words if things came to a head between them, even if he'd make the guy a slave dad. Anarchy. 2 weeks later, the train ride to Kyoto had come with a few surprises. Nei-chan? Naruto looked surprised as Yudahime nodded, sitting with him, Kushina, and Satoru. I'm confused, not to say you're not welcome, but what are you doing here? Oh, that's because she's being put for a teacher at Kyoto Jujutsu High, Kushina said with a smile as the younger woman blushed but nodded. Hime-chan was always good at handling the younger students and helping them develop. I guess they wanted to offer her some ideas or future plans. Well, I believe so, Yudahime said. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet though. I've been happy to lead most of our students, she shot the grinning Satoru a look. Ignoring the special ones, it's inspiring to help the students master their talents, control, or even their cursed techniques. Hee, I'm sure they'll be glad to have you, Nei-chan, Naruto said with a grin as she smiled. Wish my situation was different, but it's what it is, he admitted as Yudahime hummed. I understand, I wish I could teach you fully, but that doesn't mean I can't teach you, she smiled. I'm sure, when you're old enough and still have the same interest, you could learn how to handle cursed tools or even barriers and shikigami. There are methods to allow you to try your best, Naruto-kun. In fact, that's why he trains with the greatest. Satoru jumped in without hesitation, Yudahime's brow twitching in response. Why, I could make him a real beast once he's all big and strong. More like really uncultured. The last thing he needs is your input on his development. Hey now, I've been around my cousin since he was a baby, it'll be fine. Deniable, Yudahime rolled her eyes before removing something from her sleeves and giving it to Naruto. I was trying to see how your development would proceed and I figured giving you these two would work. She smiled as Kushina grinned while Naruto took the offered tags. They were talismans, composed of golden parchment and black ink, Naruto turned them around before finding names on the back. Oni, Kitsune, Neichan, these are awesome, but how would I use them? Naruto smiled as Yutaheim reciprocated. I know you, Neichan, I'm sure there's some kind of secret to these. Yes. Huh. Oh, you need to put blood on him. Satoru smirked as Yutaheim's eyebrow twitched while Kushina chuckled. Why you dash? Hanchan, please, I'm sure you can give us a more in-depth explanation, the silver-haired woman said as Yutaheim stopped before blushing and grumbling. Why yes, well, ignoring his interruption, Yutaheim's eyes narrowed. Gojo is correct, these talismans are a bit different because they rely on your physical body. She smiled at the boy as Satoru huffed. It wasn't easy to ask for this, but Yaga was helpful in this regard. They're similar to his cursed puppets, he said, but it takes in information from your soul or the material you use to conjure them. The thing is, when active, they're self-sufficient when it comes to cursed energy. They just need you to form a master bond with them through the act of giving blood. Naruto considered it with a grin. It's kind of like the Kuchiyos no Jutsu, he thought, the product before him similar in function, apparently. So, just some blood? Would I need to do it all the time? Nope, Satoru stepped in while tilting his sunglasses up, ignoring Yutaheim who grumbled. Once the master-servant bond is formed, you're going to be able to conjure them with but a thought. Naruto considered it while Kushina hummed. I'm surprised, wouldn't this be nice for everyone to have? I always wondered why more people didn't use shikigami, she said, combing her fingers through her hair. Somehow, someway, like animals slipping out of a forest, small red balls of light peeked out from by her ears before disappearing again. You're really amazing, Kushina-san, Yutaheim said in awe as the woman chuckled a bit. Being honest, you didn't really stay a sorcerer for reasons I don't understand, no offense. Duh, she did the sappy stuff, Gojo said as Naruto laughed, and Yutaheim blinked before her expression brightened while Kushina's reddened. That's how Naruto was born. He's not wrong, the boy grinned as Yutaheim smiled softly at him. Alright, maybe not here. We'll do it when we get to your new home, the teacher-to-be said as the blonde chuckled in embarrassment. I know, you were probably excited. These did have your own words in mind. Naruto blinked in surprise along with his family. It did? Kushina asked as Satoru hummed. Yes. At one point, Naruto had quite the amazing concept, she explained. He wondered if shikigami couldn't be made to get stronger as the caster did. It had been something odd about a video game, I believe. Jade Cocoon too, Naruto and Satoru said in unison, not even bothered. It's so cool. Alright, Yutaheim tilted her head. Honestly? Video games? I thought you were bad at those, she asked the boy who blushed while Satoru snickered. I'm good at the ones which involve taking care of my partners and stuff, like Monster Rancher, Naruto mumbled with a squinted face, Yutaheim's eyes shining at his fox-like expression. But what about the mixing part? I don't know if I ever mentioned that. Yaga didn't think that was impossible, but it wasn't feasible. For now, they're simply as you originally considered, they grow with you, their caster, as long as they're not exorcised. If they're destroyed, that's different, but they're still filled with cursed energy and getting exorcised will break your connection. NRK. Getting to Kyoto, the four got off the train with the mother and son getting their luggage. Once they did, the group left the train station before traveling the streets of Kitaku, one of the 11 wards of Kyoto Prefecture. It's a lot more rural where we are, but it's close to the school, Kushina explained as they walked past stores, bakeries, and dojos before finding themselves on a bridge over Kumo River. And there are rice paddies we can go and see if we want to get some rest. It's pretty alright, no big restaurants. Satoru asked. No, but the Kinkakuji is here. Officially known as the Rokuanji, Yutaheim explained to Naruto. It's also rumored to house a cursed object. Really? The boy asked as they came to a stop by a bayou, the site of the temple in the distance. Why doesn't anyone know? It's honestly annoying to get in, Satoru said, arms folded behind his head. Hell, they don't even let you see the wise kings, much less what might be enshrined inside of it all. He's right, sadly. There's not a lot to do about going in, Yutaheim said as Kushina nodded. Still, Kyoto High is keeping an eye on it. Better safe than sorry. NRK. Reaching their new home, Naruto and Kushina grinned at a medium-sized 2-story house with cream-colored walls, red shingles, and white-bordered windows. Going in through the dark red door, they found a comfy-looking living space with some furniture already inside. Satoru strutted on in before collapsing into a recliner and putting up the built-in leg rest. Yudaheim rolled her eyes before looking at the back of the door where, on the four corners of it, oddly colored rectangular tiles sat. It's rather amazing just how incredible a normal person can be, she said as Kushina grinned. He easily became one of the best users of shikigami, talismans, and barriers we've ever seen. How? Where had this woman's husband come from? The man was a verifiable genius, and the fact he'd just been a normal person made the world a hilariously amazing place the more the faculty thought about it. Minato has always been just that smart. He's a smooth talker in his field of business, and a downright criminal mastermind when it comes to schematics. Honestly, he's just that one amazing thing. A genius, Satoru piped in while sitting up and leaning on one armrest with a grin. Yeah, he is, especially because of how good he is, he said lazily as Yudaheim blinked at him, looking confused. Well, for one, he knows how to make a shikigami capable of bypassing my family's infinity. The area was silent as Yudaheim stared at him, her expression of confusion slowly becoming more and colored by the sheer impossibility of what Satoru had just said. What? She asked for clarification. She had to. What Satoru Gojo had just admitted to was too outrageous to ignore. Yeah, trust me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, the young man shrugged. It's likely because his curse technique is so unique. Hell, if he'd been a sorcerer I'm sure he'd have been special grade easily. I don't understand. How? Yudaheim cupped her chin. Kushina-san, what exactly is Minato Uzumaki's curse technique? Kushina chuckled as she sat down with Naruto on a couch. Coordinate reversal, she explained as the woman blinked in confusion. Minato can shift coordinates of his energy, and a target he's tagged with his own cursed energy. The thing is, that's not enough to defeat infinity. It's why Pops had to expand the point or something, Naruto explained as Yudaheim blinked at him. And Naruto-kun, I don't understand. If he can change a point of energy in my own, he can expand a customized simple domain inside of my safeguards, Satoru said with a shaky grin. That man is utterly terrifying. Yudaheim's eyes widened. If he could already bypass his infinity, that means he's behind infinity, and since it can eternally expand, he can, essentially, nullify it, the young man admitted, flooring her. That bit of information took her several seconds to process. No one knows, do they? For what you lack in strength, you make up for in smarts, he said, and she growled. But yeah, it'd be a very bad idea to tell anyone about that, Satoru frowned, breaking her anger for a moment. Then she truly considered what was being implied and winced. You'd never know, rest, she said to Kushina and Naruto, who nodded. I'm sorry for asking. No, it's fine, Haim-chan, you're a truly trustworthy person, Kushina smiled as the younger woman blushed. The thing is, even at its base, Minato couldn't exploit the loophole in infinity until he explained his curse technique. With that boost, he could do it, the younger woman understood. Still, in a way, that just tells you how different the modern world is, Yudaheim said as Naruto nodded. And how Jujutsu is changing every day. I mean, that kind of power isn't something within the three main families and is just in some random person, think about it. I think it's just because those old statues don't want to think about it, Naruto said as Satoru snickered and Yudaheim smiled shakily. They care about only traditional kinda techniques. I don't think they try to accept the new types that are possibly all over. Well, I can't say you're wrong, Yudaheim said, finding her seat on another couch opposite the mother and son's own. I mean, Nanami-kun's curse technique is still up for debate to them. Oh right, Nanami! Satoru grinned as she rolled her eyes despite trying to fight the amusement on her face. He's a guy who can put ratios on things, Bachan, Neru. Huh! The two blinked. The hell's that mean? Nanami Kento is his name, he's a first year, Yudaheim explained. His curse technique is unorthodox and a bit esoteric, more like Satoru's own than normal kinds. Looking at a target, he can divide them, or it into a line with 10 points, Gojo explained while leaning back with a grin. When he hits that ratio of 7-3, his attacks are more potent. Honestly, I'm sure that he'll be a grade 1 sorcerer. He's got all the things he needs. He just needs to get experience. He sounds like a nice young man with a brilliant future, Kushina grinned before patting her son's head. So, let's ensure we see this one's future as well, she chuckled as Naruto nodded. Now, Naruto-kun, I don't know if you're queasy around blood, Yutaheim said to him, coming over and sitting beside him to point to his finger. I can open up a small wound so you can perform the ritual without too much trouble. Hee, I got this Nachan, Naruto said with a determined look, getting a chuckle out of her and a look of amusement from Kushina. Then the boy bit open a bit of his thumb and Yutaheim shrieked. Naruto? It's not that bad, trust me, the former shinobi said without a wince as the woman trembled in horror, Satoru laughing like an idiot in the recliner. Now, like this, while Yutaheim freaked out, and Kushina tried to calm her down, Gojo's thumb came up to lift his sunglasses, the young man sitting down fully as he focused. Let's see what I can find again, he thought to himself as he watched Naruto place blood on those two shikigami talismans. Has it changed since last time? With the limitless and six eyes, seeing the flow, intent, and mechanics of cursed energy was simple and easy to read, but when it came to Naruto, there was something odd. There's the restriction. The heavenly restriction placed on his young cousin always surprised the Gojo clan head. Not because it was one, he may have only seen a few of these cases, but they all shared a uniformity in them that made sense, in a way. Naruto's own hadn't. The restriction formed not a mass of chains that removed the ability to use cursed energy, but a mandala, a sort of shape, that spread out on his back, chest, core, and head. Each of these mandalas connected to one another in an odd fashion, and it left him befuddled often because it shouldn't be so confusing. He couldn't see anything besides that, though, along with one other thing. Those mandala. They were slowly solidifying ever since he first saw them, the young man's eyes focusing even further, before they were rebuffed. Rebuffed like always when he tried to push his perception and senses into solving Naruto's mystery. What is it? Watching the boy's talisman's glow had him leaning back, mouth set in a smile that'd be seen as casual, while his mind ran rampant. That's not a heavenly restriction like anything I've ever seen, and something was happening, as well. I don't know what this is. How had his six eyes been rejected? Even now, he felt a bit of a small headache, which wasn't something that happened unless he strained his eyes. Satoru simply allowed his thoughts to go away from the eternal mystery to watch Naruto's shikigami appear, and he grinned a bit at the two. The two shikigami sat at about the same height as the blonde, clearly to Yutaheim's adoration, with chibified features that were relative to their master, though only hadn't been much of anything special. The creature was Naruto's height, bipedal, orange, and bearing a pair of golden horns on its head. Hilariously enough, it looked like a kid of its species with big black eyes on yellow scara, a snaggletooth, and a head of spiky white hair. With its form being thin but strong, covered by a pair of baggy blue pants and a cheetah print mantle, the creature crossed its arms and deferred to the blonde. The fox, on the other hand, was more curious. The completely white creature sat in front of Naruto with a patient look, blue eyes with slit pupils never leaving the boy's form. It had red coloration over its eyes, paws, and tail tips. Yes, tips, as in more than one. The two foxtails it had were surprising because Satoru had been sure that the talisman had said fox and not kitsune, with the last bits on it being a black bead necklace around its neck and an cowlick of fur atop its head. The creature looked regal if not intriguing. Wait. He activated his cursed technique once more and found his eyes widening. It's passing on to the shikigami? What? The mandala had provided copies, it seemed. Each shikigami bearing one on their backs and chests in his vision. What's going to happen when it's complete? Satoru wasn't sure, but he had a hunch that the heavenly restriction might lift after it was. Still, why do the shikigami have it? What was the point? He groaned mentally before dropping the thought entirely and focused on Naruto dealing with his new shikigami. I'm gonna call you Kurama. The blonde grinned as the kitsune perked up, tails wagging. And you, Naruto turned to the waiting Oni. He looked at the horns on its head. Sage, he smiled as the creature perked up. He nodded rapidly as the kitsune leaned forward a bit. I guess we'll be working together, the boy grinned as he crossed his arms. I wonder what old dude Yaga made him do. Yutaheim was almost too taken with the cute creatures to answer, Kushina grinning the entire time. Satoru sneakily took out his phone before putting it on silent. He took picture after picture, looking to all the world like a smiling man who wasn't blackmailing anyone. Kushina looked at the rather expressive shikigami. I guess it's definitely Yaga's touch. They're so unique, she said with a smile as the two shikigami approved in their own ways. Oh, you three are like a team now. Yutaheim's phone was out and taking photos as she covered her mouth. Oh. My. God, they're so fucking cute. Her mind raged as she took picture after picture. Truly, Naruto really was the gift that kept on giving. NRK, a month later. Huh! Naruto balked at Satoru as the clan head, Geto, and him walked away from Tokyo High. So, wait, what? The boy looked so confused. Wearing a pair of black ninja sandals, a pair of orange baggy pants, a black tunic, and a white cloak, Naruto blinked in disbelief. A new black set of bandages in place of his white bandana to cover his left eye. Why'd he send you guys? Hey. I mean, we are the strongest, Satoru said before considering the question as Geto rolled his eyes. Though, being nice and friendly ain't our forte. That's why you're here. Naruto's sweat dropped. You guys are hopeless, he said. Well, hopeless will buy you a drink if you take it back, Satoru said with the look of a con man. Naruto's eyebrow rose before he grinned. Alright, give me some passion fruit tea. One passion, half hopeless one. Geto snickered as Satoru's form creaked. Loopholes, loopholes, I'm sure you know more than enough about those. Satoru's jaw dropped. They got their drinks before the two filled him in on the situation. Protect this girl because she'll be the next Tengen? Naruto reiterated Geto's words, the brunette nodding while Satoru drowned his sorrows in tea. And that Q group and the, other one, he said with a hopeless grin. The Time Vessel Association. The curse user group Q wants to overturn the current way things are by destroying the new vessel so Tengen-sama will evolve, he twitched his fingers, into a being unfit as the pillar of the world. What about the other guys? I mean, what's the point? The Time Vessel Association wishes to preserve Tengen-sama without a merger. Yes, it's as stupid as it sounds. Geto chuckled at Naruto's look of pure confusion. Wait, they do realize he's done this before, right? He asked in disbelief. This has happened already. What? Yeah, non-sorcerers are pretty stupid, Satoru said. And we've got to protect them. He made a disgusted look as Geto sighed. That's the way of the world, he said, confusing Naruto. Ah, well, Satoru believes that the strong shouldn't have to protect the weak. Aniki, seriously? Naruto said with a squint-eyed look as the older Gojo groaned. He considered the concept. I'm guessing you think otherwise, Geto bro? Yes. The strong are meant to protect the weak and our institution keeps us in check. It's a responsibility, the cursed spirit user said as Naruto nodded slowly. If I had to put it into words, he began as Geto smiled encouragingly. In a way, you're both right, Naruto grinned as both older males shot him weird looks. Geto bro's right in that the strong should protect the weak, I believe that, but I think Satoru and I's issue is that he feels like he'd be forced to. Satoru scratched the side of his nose. Maybe. It's not fair to force anyone into something they both didn't plan/want to do, and just decide for them. We're all born with our own will and the like, we have a freedom to choose. That said, I think, among all else, when you find something you want to protect, most of the time it'll be something weak, you're gonna be the strongest because you have something that's precious to you. Whether it's an ideal, a dream, a friend, family, or someone you're happy with. That's a nearly indescribable difference between someone who's just strong and someone who is strong. Satoru blinked at him, trying to wrap his mind around it while Geto looked, not worried but conflicted. Your words are a lot wiser than your age would show, Geto said with a look of being a bit lost. Why though? Why do we have families? Naruto grinned. Why keep things you care about? Why hold people close you may believe in? Cursed energy may run on power like negativity, but humans don't. Geto looked alarmed while Satoru snickered. Maybe it's just a kid's way of looking at things, he offered his friend who cupped his chin. Or, crazy enough, maybe that's the way it's always been? Geto didn't know. Perhaps it was just childish ignorance. But Naruto had faced his own difficulties and trials growing up even to his current age. What boy just accepted ostracization? What kind of child understood the concept of old blood and tradition? Perhaps, maybe, Naruto did have a point? Geto wasn't sure. Nero's always been a positive thinker, Satoru said, ruffling the boy's head of hair. In a way, I guess this is also Auntie's genes in you. She always did have that kinda kindness, Naruto smirked as the older man snickered. It just comes with a temper. Yep, the two laughed as Geto smiled. Perhaps. NRK. Sheesh, I'm killing kids now? Fushiguro said as he sat in a restaurant in some black clothing. What? That girl is the star plasma vessel, his contact, a man in a black suit with just as much as a sketchy look as himself, said. They'll pay 30 million yen for her. And the boy is Naruto Uzumaki, the blonde sheep of the Gojo family. Yes. I don't get it. Fushiguro put the picture of his old student down. Why? He asked, actually pretty confused. Nobody in the Jujutsu world had given a fuck about the blonde Gojo, outside of his two family members and people not involved. It wasn't wrong to say that Naruto essentially didn't matter to those in the higher-ups. And somehow, these guys wanted that kid dead? Color him confused. Yeah, I never understood it myself, the other man said, lighting a cigarette. But I think it's because they found a divination sorcerer who gave them some details. Fushiro's eyes widened. That kid could make a muck of things, for some reason? The man shrugged as the other one rolled his eyes. So, what's the point? I can just kill the girl and not do all that extra effort, Fushiguro groaned before noting his mediator's expression. I think you're under a misconception. Fushiro's eyes narrowed. They want the boy, the other man said, confusing him. I told you, they had a divination, but there was more to it. The mediator frowned with a raised brow. That diviner, they said something odd. They spoke of this Naruto kid like he was the Gojo clan's second coming. What? Fushiguro blinked at that. How? Because he's supposedly the reverse of Satoru Gojo. NRK. Humph. Speaking of hopelessness, Geto said as the three boys looked up at a large apartment building, an explosion coming out from one of the top rooms. That's not our fault, is it? Yo? Naruto said, pointing to something falling from that room. She needs help. Geto bro. Yeah, Geto said with a smirk as he ran ahead with Naruto, Satoru simply lifting his sunglasses and watching the explosion. Satoru, there's a cute guy there, the clan head said as Geto's eyebrows narrowed while Naruto flared out a talisman. Kurama! Naruto called out, and the talisman glowed. It unleashed his kitsune shikigami before the boy jumped on top of it, and they began to scale the wall of the apartment. Geto bro, I'll dash. You're slow, Geto smirked as he flew past on a manta ray cursed spirit. Get faster than me. Naruto huffed but sighed in relief as the older male caught the fallen girl. There's someone there, he frowned as Kurama kept going before they saw the person they were dealing with. He was a tall man with a cloth mouth covering, fair skin, and beady eyes. Wearing a white hat, a white double-breasted top, a black mantle, pants, and boots, he glared at Geto before finally noticing him. You dash! The man began to say, Naruto noticing a figure's head in his hands. So, he flung out his second shikigami. Sage! The orange Oni's form appeared in front of the man. What dash? The young-looking shikigami's fist sent him flying. This strength? His grip on his hostage fell limp and Naruto slipped in just in time to catch her. Kurama! The curse user's form slipped out of the way of the foxy spirit's head, but that cratered the wall. Where's this strength coming from? Are they compressed? The man thought as he slipped to the side before raising his hands at the boy. Wait, it's you. Huh? Naruto looked confused before the man's face contorted even behind his mask. You got a problem with me, old man? The blonde's eyes narrowed, his spirits flanking him. No, in fact, it's quite a bit different, the Q member said with a gleam in his eyes. You're more of a ticket than a problem. There was a stream of heat ahead of the blonde, and then there was another explosion from the apartment. Geto's eyes narrowed before another explosion came from down below. Satoru can handle that one. His cursed spirit moved towards the opening in the wall before Geto called two more cursed spirits into the room. Then he sighed in relief as the Q member stared in confusion at the barrier of flame-like energy around Naruto and the knocked-out woman, the kitsune standing in front of the two, and his fellow shikigami with his tails glowing. Sage! The boy threw his hand forward as the Oni shikigami shot out of cover and towards the curse user. The man scoffed before taking aim. Another stream of heat shot towards the shikigami before being followed by a string of explosions, That missed? His head snapped up before a fist came down on his noggin. The blow stunned the man, sending him stumbling, before the Oni child grabbed his head. Geto snickered as the man's face was sent into the floor, cracking the wooden panels, by the Oni shikigami. When Sage removed his hand, the enemy didn't move. Nice. Naruto praised the now flexing shikigami as Geto came in with a smirk. Good work, your application of your spirits and mental commands are honestly rather ridiculous as always, which was true. Ever since receiving them, Naruto's training with the two shikigami always resulted in a single opinion. The boy's reflexes were scarily top-notch, no way to understate it. Naruto, even now, was likely able to react to anything, especially with his little sensory skill. Speaking of, do you feel anything? He asked, and the boy's eyes closed while Kurama's form sat next to him, glowing a soft gold. They expand on it. Well, the Kitsune Shikigami did. How odd. No, Aniki's got the other guy taken care of, too, Naruto said with a smile. And, as if summoned, Satoru appeared with another knocked-out Q member. He looked around with an impressed nod. Good work, Narunaru. I can tell, you've got quite the sorcerer in you, the clan head said with a smirk before dropping the enemy he'd fought on the ground. So, what's the next move? He asked the two. NRK. Thank God we remembered to set up a screen, Satoru said as he, Geto, Naruto, and Naruto's Shikigami made it to another location with the knocked-out women. With the blonde Shikigami carrying the two, they could keep all their hands free and prepared. With Yaga's help, I'm sure we'll send a message to those Q guys, Satoru said before Naruto perked up. Oh, right, he said, confusing the two. Those guys said something weird about me. So, nothing unusual? Idiot, Geto smirked. Go on, he's just being problematic. So, nothing unusual? Naruto snickered as Satoru gasped. Whatever, you drama queen, this is kinda serious, he said as the two blinked. That guy, he said I was their ticket or something. Ticket? The two students looked at one another. What? I don't know, all I know is that I told Jagabro that he needs to grill him. He seemed prepared to try and take me. Satoru's eyes narrowed as he cupped his chin. That's so? What do you think? He asked Geto. It's not like they cared before, why now? Naruto's only connection to any current event, right now, is through your 6 eyes. That's too stretched of a connection. There was a ring from Naruto's pockets, and the blonde pulled out a phone as they came to a stop. The taller males crouched down as he answered. Yaga bro? Naruto, I have a feeling it'd be a good idea for you to stay by Gojo, and Sugura's sides came a gruff but concerned voice. This thing just got complicated. What? The young men in question frowned. What do you mean? I mean that they want the boy for reasons even these guys are unsure of, the Time Vessel Association do. They seem to have gotten divination from some sorcerer, and decided to pay these guys if they could kidnap Naruto. Satoru's eyes narrowed, blue eyes glistening for a moment. That's so? It seems like they know something about Naruto that we don't, and that's important enough for them to try and keep him. They don't want him dead like Rico and I, the Star Plasma Vessel. This got weird quickly. I have to assume it has something to do with Tengen-sama, no? Geto suggested. I mean, there's literally nothing else that's going on right now, right? If something was, it'd be quite the worrisome situation. There shouldn't be unless Gojo heard something from his clan? Nah, they haven't talked to me in. The young man's face went blank. I think for a couple years now. God, our family sucks sometimes, Naruto muttered as Satoru smirked. Yaga bro, what should we do? For now, just follow through on your mission, Yaga said kindly. You're between two nearly unstoppable forces, trust me, there's no safer place for you, but once this is all over, you might need to keep your head down for a bit, alright? Alright, hopefully this doesn't become a big problem. You and me both. The call ended and Naruto tucked his phone away. So I'm now wanted, didn't see that coming. True, Geto added with a deep frown. Still, perhaps, they know what's actually odd about your situation. If they do, we might be able to get a lot out of this, he smiled as Naruto chuckled. Yeah, this might be perfect, Satoru said with a sly grin. Once we're done with the baggage, we can yow. He began to say, looking eager, before jumping and holding his rear. Who's the wise guy? Me, you idiot! Came a feminine voice from behind them, the boys turning to see none other than the two women they brought standing up. Well, one of them. If you want to die, go do it on your own. Huh! The one who'd spoken was the younger of the two females, the special one, the star plasma vessel, Rico Amanai. She'd been of average height for a girl in her teens with peach skin, dark blue eyes, and black hair, with a yellow bandana in it, that ended in a ponytail. Wearing a girl's school uniform, she pointed at the three with an annoyed look. Geto smiled disarmingly. Please, Rico, we're not here to hurt or kidnap you. Stuff it, liar. Twitch. You think I'd believe someone with a face like yours? Twitch. And what's with that weird-ass side bang? Did you lose a bet? Seconds later, the girl was screaming as the two students began to pull on her limbs. Respect your elders, Geto said ominously as Satoru grinned in revenge. Naruto rolled his eyes as he stood next to the girl's caretaker, who was currently obsessed with holding Sage like he was a teddy bear. The Oni didn't look bothered. She had white skin, black eyes, and black hair tied up in a neat bun that was covered by a white hair bun cover with two chin-length bangs on the sides of her face. Wearing a black dress, skirt, leggings, and shoes, she had on a collared shirt beneath her dress and a white apron over her skirt, looking on with a sweat drop. I guess they're as hot-blooded as she is, she said to Naruto, who chuckled nervously. Yeah, right? I don't know your name, Nei-chan. Oh, pleased to meet you, young man. I am Misato Kurwa. The caretaker smiled and bowed to him, while the others bickered or, in Rico's case, got stretched out in repentance. And you are? Naruto Uzumaki, at your service. Oh, you're that Naruto-kun. You know me? Yes, from what connections I do have with the Jujutsu world, you've been a hot topic as of the last 2 years, Kurwa explained as he rubbed the back of his head. It's because that's when they were sure I didn't have any curse technique. I'm just a black sheep, he explained as she frowned. It's what it is. I've still got a Nikki over there and my parents. I just lived my life how I choose. Well, I suppose, she said. I'm fine at school, you know, came Rico's voice, gaining their attention. Wait. School? Kurwa. What time is it? A bit before noon? Kurwa considered. But perhaps school can why. Nonsense. I'm going. NRK. So Yaga said that Tingen-sama said to just go along with what she wants, Naruto said as Satoru groaned while Geto nodded, the four of them, Kurwa included, standing in the forests outside of Renchoku Girls Junior High. I'm not surprised, he said. Once this all happens, all of this, Geto gestured to the world around them, is never going to be hers to walk in again. She'll be down below, working with Tingen-sama to be the linchpin of our society. Family, friends, connections, they'll sadly all go away. Is there really no way for her to see the outside world? Naruto asked as Kurwa held onto Sage gently, head down. Sis, it's... Ha, I wish for the same, Naruto-kun, Kurwa said, messing with the Oni child Shikigami's fingers. Rico-sama has no family anymore, not after an event from when she was 4, Naruto winced while Satoru crossed his arms, expression unreadable behind his glasses. There's no more relatives for her. But that makes you her family, Geto chuckled as the woman blushed but nodded. You've helped her more than anyone could have expected. Yep. Naruto grinned as Kurwa smiled a bit. Family's not just about blood sometimes, it's as simple as feeling like it. If you believe you're family and happy with one another, no one could say otherwise. Yes, yeah Naruto began to say before his eyes narrowed to a part of the school. Aniki bro. Intruders? Satoru's eyes narrowed as Geto's fingers pressed to his forehead. 2 of them have already been exorcised, Geto said with a frown. We need to grab Rico. The 6, including the Shikigami, hurried out of the forest, hurrying to the side of the girls-only school to rush in through a custodian door. Where's Amanai? Satoru asked Kurwa. At this time, the music room or the chapel, the caretaker said as the group slowed down by an intersecting hallway. The chapel is this way, Kurwa said nervously, pointing down the direction. And the music room. She's this way, Naruto said, pointing down the hall, surprising Kurwa for a moment before her eyes widened. She's in the chapel. Then I'll head after the intruders, Geto stated before finding Naruto at his side. They separated, the boy said as he looked up. One's going up while one's right down their hall and to the right. Hee, good job, Satoru said as he and Kurwa ran. We'll handle Am and I. Go and deal with those schmucks. He told them as the two disappeared down the hall. Alright, let's do this, Naruto said with a grin, Kurama and Sa. Oh my god, he facepalmed as Geto snickered. Keikuwane has, Sage? I'm so bad at this. They'd found the first intruder fast thanks to the blonde's sensory skill, their old man of an opponent coming down a hallway before looking at them in surprise. Aniki! Yeah! The old man's hands flashed out, talismans in both. But before they could summon anything, Geto had already released a cursed spirit that seemed to engulf the hallway towards him. TSK! There was a crash of stone, plaster, and glass as the spirit wriggled around. Humph! Geto nodded before Naruto faced the window with Kurama. Kurama, the boy called out to the shikigami who nodded, the kitsune's tails glowing. Humph! Naruto dropped his weights, the metal objects around his ankles thunking as they hit the floor. Right as the old curse user came through the window, arms crossed with a knife in his grip, Geto's eyebrow rose before Kurama flashed a golden light into their opponent's face, blinding him and allowing Naruto to tackle the man midair before clasping his arms around his waist. What? And suplexed the man right into the ground, the curse user's legs twitching as the boy let go before flipping off him, landing next to Geto. There, handled, Naruto grinned as the cursed spirit user blinked before laughing a bit. Your senses continue to be top-notch. It's honestly comforting that the next generation has such capable warriors. The older male smirked as Naruto folded his arms behind his head. Come, let's get to the second one before he causes trouble. He's heading towards the chapel, Naruto said with narrowed eyes. Let's go, he said. Bring this one, Geto said, pointing to the knocked-out old man, going over and pulling the curse user out of the ground like a vegetable. We might be able to glean more information about this whole situation. NRK. They hurried to the top of the school before rushing down the roof to look down at the chapel, just in time to see a familiar trio hurrying down its roof and into the nearby suburban areas. Why is he leading him into the populated areas? Geto frowned before he and Naruto jumped off the top of the school. I have to assume Kurwa was able to hypnotize the students. Doing all of this out in the open is troublesome, he said before flicking out two fingers. A pair of cursed spirits, one a familiar manta ray and the other a disfigured eagle, appeared, allowing the four to land on them, Kurama holding their defeated opponent in his extending tails. There are 5 similar signatures following them, Naruto shouted as their rides took off at high speeds. Is it a curse technique? Seems like it, Geto answered as they began to gain on the 8. Still, this ought to be good for us. With at least 2 prisoners, we can work out more ideas on what to do. As the 8 figures made it on top of houses and small complexes, another curtain, a seemingly inky black splotch, was thrown over the area, Naruto and Geto barely making it in before it fully took shape. There's someone else here, Geto said with a frown. There's someone else around. Naruto's eyes went all about the area, senses raised. I can't. Whoever this is, their cursed energy isn't all that different from a normal person's. I have a feeling they're like our assistant directors, maybe? Just like us, that wasn't good. How big is this attacking force? Geto didn't like the idea of facing a possible attack force similar to the Zenin clan's their high-grade attack force. It seems that Satoru's handling this as well as we expected, he said as their ride came to an end, the two watching as Satoru essentially manhandled his opponent. A large hulking man with a bag over his head, a shirt, and a pair of pants. There were 5 copies of this man on the nearby rooftops, 2 of which had been pulled and slammed together by a light blue haze in the air. Blue, Naruto said with interest, rubbing the back of his head. God, I hate trying to sense it, it's always such a pain in the brain. Really? Geto was curious. Can you make something out about it? It's like impossible points of energy mixed together. My senses can kinda make sense of it, but it hurts the more I do. It's like he pulls it from a different dimension and stuff, but doesn't? Naruto offered, like it made sense. Infinity's kinda stupid when it comes to explaining it, and then there's limitless that makes the world clearly feel awkward. Why? Because it's limitless. I can't really get a feel on it, but it's obviously there. Think of it like an actual ghost. Naruto's face went blank as Geto laughed. Then, consider infinity like an endless pool. The thing is, the ghost can pull the 2 ends of that pool together in a loop like an asshole. Don't let Iori hear you, Geto smirked as Naruto whined. She'll just come by to clobber Satoru though. No, please ignore my words. Right. Things came to an end in, surprise surprise, Satoru's favor with one last uppercut, the four coming down to join up with the others. Huh! Rico blinked as she saw the cursed spirits, and then the shikigami. Oh my god, you're so cute! She said in Naruto's direction. Naruto chuckled as he shot Kurama a thumbs up. Huh! He was picked up and left confused as she mashed their cheeks together. Hey, where have you been? Rico asked in awe. Thank God there's a cute boy around here. Satoru blinked before pointing at his face. Excuse you, handsome is over here, he said flatly as she shot him a flat look. Kurwa smiled in relief. Thank you, Naruto-kun. It was good we could separate our forces properly without being caught unawares, she said as she held Sage like before. Yep, I'm glad, Naruto began to say, already giving in to his fate, before he felt something off. What? He blinked in confusion, head snapping to the side. You guys? Heads turned in that direction, and they all saw them. A swarm of cursed spirits, weak ones that wouldn't even do anything, but a swarm so large that it nearly blotted out the sun. A desperation move? Satoru considered with a raised brow. You know? He said, but his eyes narrowed. There's no one over there, which was odd. Then there was a yelp that had them turning around to see Rico hitting the floor with a look of disbelief. And no Naruto. The fuck? Satoru and Geto choked while Kurwa's eyes shrank. Naruto? Anarchy. An indeterminable amount of time later, in Okinawa, they grinned as they sat in the shade of an umbrella, eating shaved ice at a picnic table on the beach. I got so easily. Naruto kept slamming his head down on the wooden surface, groaning under Kurwa's watchful eye. Be careful, Naruto-kun, you'll hurt yourself, she said, rubbing the boy's head. It's not something to be so worried about, regardless. You're not at fault when you did your best, Kurwa said, wearing a black skin-tight swimming top and bloomers. Yeah. Rico grinned, wearing a black bikini, a straw hat, and a beach jacket. You saved me from getting nabbed. As the future Tenjin, I'm sure I could pull some strings, she said with a gleam in her eye. Naruto grumbled with a pout in his orange swim trunks and black weights, Kurwa smiling while pinching his cheek. Satoru snickered, wearing a black beach jacket and swim trunks. It wasn't that bad. Besides, we also got more info on you, he said with a sly grin as Rico perked up. What was that all about? She asked. The situation is as such, Geto began. The Q group, thankfully, has disbanded. Naruto looked so confused. Yes, having their greatest member defeated left them without a head, so they couldn't reign in the immediate anarchy. Immediate what now? Don't worry about it. Then, with those two men we caught near Rico's school, things got odd, especially when we had to save you. Anarchy. So, explain to me again, why'd you let them take him? The hired hand hummed as he ate some takoyaki. Toji, not Fushiguro, shrugged. Because it'll work out in the end, he said with a grin as his mediator groaned across from him at the same table. Did you not see how that Gojo brat acted? He was pushing all his senses to the max to try and find the kid. That's good. You're trying to tire him out, the other man said with a sigh before eating some gyoza. Humph. I guess your other bet also worked out. We didn't have to pay those men a single yen, but they likely snitched. Toji snorted. So? God, why do I work with you? Anarchy. They called you their special technique, Kurwa said as she rubbed Naruto's shoulder. They know something odd about you, Naruto-kun, and we're sure it has to do with your heavenly restriction. Yep, Satoru said as he stretched, Rico eating while paying attention. I don't know if you noticed. You mean when you'd use 6 eyes on me, right? Naruto offered, surprising Geto while Satoru grinned a bit. I figured you were trying to figure something out. You weren't exactly trying too hard. Huh? Satoru blinked, sitting up in confusion. What do I mean? I got a slight headache trying to look into your energy. I wonder. He cupped his chin while Geto blinked. Actually, about that, he said. Naruto told me, right before getting kidnapped, the boy's head hit the table. That he gets headaches too sometimes, when he tries to sense out infinity and limitless, but he can sense it on some level. Well, actually, that's crazy. Why? Rico asked. I mean, Wait, didn't you say your technique thing worked by actually going to infinity? Exactly, Satoru said as Naruto huffed while lifting his head. They always called Naruto a defect of our clan, his hair, his eye, and just his general lacking of cursed energy, and also a cursed technique made the others think he was a misfortune, but I was always so sure it was different. He considered the blonde's single strand of silver hair and his covered left eye. Yes, see, Nara's actually got an eye just like my own. Those eyes shouldn't be possible. They've never been in two people at the same time. Oh, beneath his bandages? Kurwa looked concerned, but Geto waved her off. I was under the impression you were injured, she said to Naruto, who shook his head before undoing his coverings. Nope, they just hate seeing it, the boy said, left eye closed as the black wrappings spilled on the table. If it was gonna cause Mom and Aniki trouble, I'd just hide it, Naruto said as he opened it. It's just like this, guys, Rico said as Satoru snorted. What's it do? Nothing, really? I think? No, I'm sure it does something, Satoru said, not even looking at the blonde's revealed eye. So, what about that marking on it? Rico asked as he froze before snapping back up and leaning forward. Marking? Kurwa and Geto said in confusion. Naruto blinked and Satoru's glasses were immediately off as he looked into the younger Gojo's left eye. She's right, there it was, that odd mandala. And it was more complex. It's a weird-looking thing, Rico said as she squinted while leaning forward, eyes reflecting the light within Naruto's own. What does it mean? Why can Rico see it? Kurwa asked. Perhaps it's because of the qualities that make her a compatible merger candidate, Geto considered. I always was confused why Rico never showed any special traits or the like, you know. It was just weird. I suppose I do see your point. Rico-sama is supposedly a rare match, but she's never sported any odd powers, Kurwa said, looking to Rico for answers. The girl shrugged. Not like I've noticed, she admitted before turning to Gojo. Still, what about Naruto? Is he gonna have a technique like yours? Most likely? Gojo wasn't sure. The thing is, Naruto's eye is special, but I don't know what the deal with it will be. That symbol Rico's spoken of, it's a mandala, he said. He explained his previous dives into Naruto's energy system and soul, exposing his results. On his shikigami? The other Jujutsu high student balked. It imprinted on their souls, that was odd. Not to say he knew Yaga's technique, but surely, Naruto, who had no cursed energy, shouldn't have had such an effect, unless... I wonder, he said, gaining their attention. You remember what they said, Naruto's a special technique, Naruto is. There might very well be something special about his body and not his energy. Naruto crossed his arms and thought. My body? The former shinobi might have understood. What with the whole reincarnate 4 times over business, Naruto was sure his soul might have been different but his body. Or it's like that old theory, Kurwa considered as the boy shot her a look. I've heard the prospect that some believe the soul defines the body or vice versa. There have been individuals who approached the concept ever since the advent of cursed energy. She looked uneasy. Of course, those individuals weren't great people, but it's a saying that's persisted to this day. Perhaps it has some weight? If it's the heavenly restriction, the question I'd have is, what exactly did it trade his cursed energy for? Satoru considered. Restrictions aren't man-made. They're natural things that happen to people who have cursed energy when they're born. I've seen it a couple times in books, so there's a chance Naruto's body was affected in exchange for that cursed energy. We've been wondering for a while what it could be. Well, I mean, he's got whisker marks. Those ain't normal. No offense, Rico said as Geto considered her words. But that's it, unless his dad's not got blonde hair. He does. Naruto's father has especially powerful blonde hair, but the Gojo gene has always been notable in its dominance. The fact Naruto has mostly blonde hair, that could have actually been more significant than we thought. It's related, at least, the cursed spirit manipulator said. Is it not the natural energy I can pull in but do nothing with? Naruto wasn't even sure if he was doing that. Ever since being reborn into this second life, for him anyway, the natural energy of the world simply didn't respond well to him. It was also utterly consumed by negative energy, cursed energy, and yet that never did much. It got easier with time to pull it in, but the blonde never felt like it was going anywhere. It just came and went. For now, we'll have to simply wait things out, your bounty's supposed to be over in a couple days, Satoru said as Naruto squawked. Hold on, what? The boy shrieked. You didn't know. Kurwa looked sheepish before frowning. Rico-sama has a bounty on her head. That's why those curse users were about. They were there to kill Rico on behalf of the Time Vessel Association, she told the boy who gawked. That's insane. Yes, it is, Geto said with a smile, confusing the blonde before he perked up. Yep, the time limit is hours before the merger is to happen. Around 11 a.m., he shrugged. I guess it's either the money or the lack of wanting unnecessary danger. Hours before the merger. Really though? Naruto considered. I mean, would that be smart? What's to stop M from putting the bounty back up? He asked the group who blinked. There'd be no time. Satoru considered it now that he was saying it. You don't think? No, I don't think any of the others are traitors, but who's to say they won't set someone up by the school? When he thought about it, Satoru frowned. He has a point, Kurwa said with a worried look. Don't take this as any offense, Gojo-san, Suguru-san, but just because you think you're invincible doesn't mean you are. The two winced at that, especially considering their track record over the past couple of days. Whether it was their slow trek to meet up with Rico or Naruto getting kidnapped right next to them, they didn't want a third try at someone testing their sense of duty or combat. It's fine, I'll handle it, Satoru said with a thumb at his chest. I'll keep an eye out for any hint of a sorcerer. Hint of a sorcerer? Why did Naruto feel very worried all of a sudden? NRK, Tokyo Jujutsu High 2 days later. Their time in Okinawa had been spent letting Rico enjoy herself, her life, before the merger took place. Aquariums, the beach, restaurants, or stalls, they just had fun, the 5 of them. So, they hoped they'd done well by the girl before she was inevitably trapped down below for the sake of the world. There has to be something we can do, Naruto thought as they stood inside of Tokyo Jujutsu High's barrier and territory. Maybe Yagabro was able to work something out for me. He hoped his talks with the man over the past 2 days could bear fruit. We can relax now, Geto said with a smile, the group back in their normal attire. We're inside the barrier, and no one can cause trouble from here on out. Thank God, Rico said. What a relief. I'm glad, Kurwa smiled solemnly. And no more, Satoru said with a shaky grumble. Need rest. No more babysitting. Excuse you? Rico growled. Too tired to reciprocate anger. Just fall dead. Naruto's eyes widened. The other strongest chuckled. It's fine, thanks for your work, Gojo. Naruto hadn't been fast enough to stop the attack before it started. He couldn't prevent the harm that would come. But he was fast enough to make sure it didn't hit anyone else. Satoru stared with horrified eyes as he fell to the side in slow motion. The grimacing man who'd slashed at Naruto staring the shocked, pained boy in the eyes, his katana raised. Sorry, kid, he whispered. And another slash crossed over the first, blood splashing over Kurwa and sending Naruto's body sailing in the same amount of time it took the others to realize. You dash! Geto's eyes widened. Bastard! Satoru's hand swung towards the assailant's face. The Torii gate by the quartet exploded, the shuddering blue haze around it crushing the materials and debris together before it was all devoured by a large cursed spirit. Another spirit caught the injured blonde boy before he hit the floor, Kurwa and Rico choking in horror. Naruto! They hurried over as Geto grimaced, kneeling by Naruto's heavily breathing form. Shit! Satoru exclaimed before he was beside the boy in an instant, eyes moving all around his cut and then his face. Take him to Tengen, now! He has to know reverse curse technique. His friend, Geto, tightened his resolve and nodded, using the cursed spirit, a giant crab, to quickly take the quartet of himself, Naruto, Rico, and Kurwa to the inner sanctum of Jujutsu High. Naruto, you need to stay alive! The cursed spirit manipulator said in hurried tones, the boy groaning softly with a barely opened uncovered eye. Shit! He's losing so much blood! How did this happen? How had Satoru not noticed? His eyes widened in horror. It was all bait to tire him out. Geto's head snapped back behind them. How do you know he won't just put back up the bounty? This is all our fault, Suguru realized as Kurwa did the best she could to apply medical aid while Rico looked at the boy with a pale face. Rico, Kurwa, I'm sorry. Focus, the woman told him, locking eyes with the shame-filled young man. You did your best, You shouldn't feel shame for that, she told him softly as his hands clenched before going limp. We need to tend to Naruto's wounds, Kurwa finished, taking off her apron and ripping it up into strands and pieces to apply to Naruto's injured torso. Rico, the girl flinched, looking shaky, getting a bit lip out of Kurwa. We need to remove Naruto's top to truly see the damage. We need to focus. The girl swallowed before nodding, kneeling by the boy and removing bloodied cloak. A kiss to her forehead startled her, Rico looking up to see the proudly smiling Kurwa. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. The girl's eyes watered as she grit her teeth and her head fell, before it all fell away to reveal a veneer of determination. Jigeto, she asked the cursed spirit manipulator who shot her a look. If Tengen's been around for so long, he's had to have learned reverse curse technique, right? He knew where this was going before grimacing. I have to hope so, he's the foundation of our system. We can only hope to God that he has. NRK. Toji frowned as he cut through the cursed spirit Geto had used to devour him. The man wearing a pair of martial artist flats, white pants, and a fitting black shirt tucked into said pants. Around his torso, a cursed spirit sat, the creature looking like a deformed baby with a worm's tail end that secured its position. He didn't think he would feel like this. Guess that brat was pretty important, huh? Toji said mindlessly to Satoru, whose eyes burned with anger. Yeah, I know, I'm a shithead, he shrugged. Even if it did sting a bit, internally. You really are, you fucking idiot. Amonai's bounty lifted. The Gojo glared. Obviously, because I took it down, hotshot. Gojo felt his cheek twitch as he remembered Naruto's words. This is all our fault. He owed his cousin a sincere apology, and hopefully as much ramen as he could handle. Hopefully because Satoru had to hope Naruto survived. Still, this guy, nothing. Absolutely nothing, he didn't feel a hint of cursed energy coming from him. Speaking of, where did that cursed spirit come from? And the sword he'd used to cut open the spirit who ate him, it was different. You're not getting past me. I think otherwise. Are you so sure? Satoru grinned wildly as his hands gestured to Toji. The man blinked as he felt a force on his back. Blue. The rest of the Torii gates by the front of the Jujutsu high territory fell away, leaving Satoru looking at nothing. There was the clack of roof tiles and his eyes snapped to the side, the roofed passageways shifting a bit from Toji's force. A heavenly restriction, Satoru realized as Toji's head tilted with a grin, his current sword going into the mouth of the cursed spirit on his shoulder, while he pulled another implement out at the same time. You're like Naruto, you don't have a hint of cursed energy. He saw the man's expression break the slightest bit, the fact confusing him as he saw, even for a moment, a hint of guilt. What was going on? You might be right, but you're certainly wrong on one point, Toji said before his form vanished. I ain't nothing like that Boy Scout. NRK. Naruto fell into that odd void for a time that felt like years. Where am I? He thought slowly, eyes clenched in pain from Toji's slashes. He missed all my vitals on purpose. Naruto knew for a fact that he was an exception and not just an example of Toji's goodness. I knew it but didn't want to say it. The man reminded him of Sasuke, in a lot of ways. In more ways than Naruto was willing to accept before he focused on helping him somehow. Whether it was by giving him something to interact with more normally, himself, or by chatting about philosophy, Naruto knew he could help him and found it had effects, but they dampened over the years. Ugh, focus, he was still falling. Where am I? Clenching blue eyes cracked open to look up into nothingness. A black void with an odd backlight below him that somehow cast shadows even in a place like this. He groaned at the flaring of his injuries. Guh. If I don't do anything, they'll kill each other. Naruto told himself, slowly huffing as he turned his body around to face the light beneath him, and found a mandala lighting up his face, blue eyes widening before his left pupil emulated the symbol in place of his pupil. This thing is my heavenly restriction, he thought with a frown, grimacing at his wounds some more. Damn it, come on. Give me something. I need to help them. If you're the binding, you switch something in me to give me something unique to my body. That mandala, golden in color, glowed a bit brighter as his form stopped meters up from it. Huh! Naruto blinked as he tried to go towards it but couldn't. He grimaced as he reached out. Satoru was likely onto something when he said that it was almost completely done. Naruto was sure of it. Now? He had a feeling he knew what was actually happening. You're the thing that's changing, Naruto realized as he looked more carefully, and saw something particular. You're not fully engraved, that's why. Yet, you're also a heavenly restriction. It was like a curse technique heavenly restriction mix that traded his power for this technique. But it wasn't finished. The technique for Naruto Uzumaki wasn't done. It was maybe 60% of the way, but he needed it now. He stared at it as streams of golden light began to fly up to him, much to his confusion. Then they touched him, and he understood. A glow brightened his face, and his hands came over it. His left eye. The mandala became clearer as time went on. It was a giant sun-like structure that was decorated like stained glass with yellows, golds, and sun-like colors. It was composed of 3 powerful distinct rings, the smallest to large being yellow gold sun. 3 petals shot out from the center, shooting out at the top, left, and right sides. With those being a powerful sunny color, the last bit of the mandala was the core, the very center of its being, where a familiar figure sat, a young man's outline in a familiar meditative stance. This is my power, Naruto whispered before muffled sounds reached him from above. No. I need at least a part of this power. The boy called out as the golden streams covered his form. I know you're incomplete. I'll suffer any consequences for my actions, please let me help them. A chain shot from his chest to the center of the mandala. His 3-tailed mandala. His technique. His blessed technique. NRK. Kurwa covered both Rico and Naruto as best she could, the bullet in her arm causing it to shake. Why you need to run, Rico, she told her charge as heavy crashing and gunshots rang out more and more. Take Naruto and leave, Kurwa implored the girl who trembled before swallowing. Please, I can't lose you. Rico swallowed one more time before scooping up Naruto as fast as she could and hurrying away. The boy's weight hard to deal with, but she would. She couldn't be a burden on her family or the people fighting to protect her and her future. If you want leave, Geto told her as she gasped. It was something me, Naruto, and Satoru came up with. Even the man who gave us this mission didn't view this as something grand or great, he said to the sniffling girl, eyes softening as they went from her to the wrapped-up Naruto. It's your life, don't lose it just because someone told you to. Rico blinked away the tears as the roar of a dragon echoed in the wide circular space. My life got way too weird. She whispered to the unconscious blonde, unaware of the glowing talismans in his pocket. I've got you, Naruto. We're gonna get out of this place. From afar, Geto grimaced as Toji's form cut through his summoned curse. How did he cut through Rainbow Dragon's scales? That was his toughest curse, easily capable of being as tough as cursed energy-enhanced iron. TCH. His hands twirled around, a shadowy portal forming by his palms. Back with Rico, the girl looked around the space before jumping in shock from a gunshot. Her head snapped to the space where Toji was, the man, Kurwa, and Geto's forms currently impossible to see. Jujutsu bullshit. She nearly shrieked before she kept on running. The way we came is just up ahead. She blinked at the feeling of something on her thigh but thought nothing of it. Then she paled at the sound of dropping bodies, freezing as her head slowly turned to see the bleeding forms of Kurwa and Geto on the floor, and their assailant rubbing the back of his neck with the bottom of his palm, an odd cursed tool, she thinks that's what it might be and or called, in his hand. Man, you're lucky I've been growing kinda soft lately, the man said to Kurwa and Geto, walking towards Rico. You can thank your little blondie for that one. Rico trembled as the man got closer, his eyes impassive even as they landed on Naruto's unconscious form. Every bit of this is me, kid, he said without thinking, Rico gritting her teeth before she ran, getting a groan out of him. Come on, don't make this difficult. The girl huffed as she hurried down that big tunnel before being tripped by a leg. She grimaced, curling over Naruto as she fell into a tough tumble that ended with her back skidding on the floor for a bit more. The pain had tears falling from her eyes, but she fought through and tried to get to her feet. A flare of pain put her back down, the sound of a gun and a hole in her right leg the culprit. What? Ha, you're dealing with people you couldn't possibly imagine, Toji said as he stood above her, gun aimed at her head. You're too valuable to the folks I'm working with. I am not even going to be the vessel. She shouted at him, confusing him for a moment. They said I don't have to if I don't want to. Rico countered with trembling eyes as Toji blinked. What? There was no way that was true, but his senses couldn't lie to him. She wasn't lying. Likely those two boys had told her this. He had a job to do. Rico stared down the barrel of a gun, Toji's mouth set into a frown. It's not your fault for existing, he told her as if he was comforting her. It's just that we both did at the same time. She blinked at a blaring pain in her noggin, eyes fogging up as she slowly fell back. Wait. Am I dying? Even after she told him? Paycheck? A fucking paycheck? It made her angry, it made her pissed. Send that comforting bullshit out the fucking door. Even as she was fucking dying, Rico thought, she raged, she felt pain, she wanted to curse him, and it all puffed away like golden leaves, leaving her confused, eyes blinking away her last moments of life, seeing a man's momentary miserable expression to a world of darkness. Is this the afterlife? Rico blinked. The feeling of something warm filling her body left her staring down at her thigh, where a familiar golden tag sat, one that immediately sprouted a familiar kitsune shikigami. Kurama? She blinked as the fox spirit circled her with that squint-eyed expression. Oh fuck. Don't tell me that Naruto, master, hasn't died. The girl froze, staring at the now staring fox in disbelief. He pulled himself back. Really? She felt tears of relief fall from her eyes, rubbing at them with a sniffle. I guess I did one thing right? It's a bit more complicated than that. She blinked as he said that. That man, never mind, the fact remains that you are dying. I knew the... Wait, dying not dead? Master's power is one that is blessed, he said. He holds within him the ability to change a lot of things, but that power is going to be locked away for a time, likely for the best. Hold on. I am worried about Nara, but we should talk about the dying part, Rico said with a look of disbelief on her face. True, her eyebrow twitched. Sadly, there's not a lot you can do. I'm simply here to ensure that you survive should you accept my proposal. Proposal? Wait. No way, you're gonna turn me into a spirit? In most ways that'd be true, but Master's powers aren't like that of my creation. He does not fill life into death, he promotes life into others. Rico felt that warmth in her chest and held it, looking confused but solemn. What is it? What's the proposal? She asked him, the fox nodding. I desire to make a binding vow with you, he said, confusing her. It's a form of contract that can be formed between individuals with cursed energy, and other beings or things filled with cursed energy. Oh, okay, so it's like a link cable. Yes? Sorry, it's the best I could come up with. It's fine, the point remains, if you accept my pact, I can bring you back to life through my master's will and powers, but you'll need to understand, Kurama said neutrally as she frowned. There will never be a normal life for you. Normal school, normal friends, going to things like college and getting a normal life? That will be completely out of your realm. You'd have to learn to live on the Jujutsu side of the world. Her mind ran with his words, the visions of the people she knew on this side. Kurwa, Gojo, Satoru, Naruto, those Q guys, her killer, and the last expression she saw on his face. Misery, pain, rejection, great ones, and family sat on that side for her. It'd all be in waiting if she came back to life. Dark blue eyes cleared as the kitsune smiled before floating over and pressing his forehead to her own. There was a golden chain that snapped between himself and her. Was this the binding vow? I'm confused. Why did you need to make a binding vow, Kurama? She asked him as her eyes closed. To truly bind your life to my own. Her eyes snapped open to see a smiling kitsune. Yes, Master is impossibly special, but he'll need protection. Kurama frowned before she held him close. I will never be capable of being reborn through the regular method again. I'll bring you out if I have to. She told him with intense eyes, getting a confused look out of the spirit. Don't worry about it. I'll protect him, Kurwa, Gojo, and that stupid Satoru. I'm special. Rico grinned as the shikigami blinked before chuckling as they glowed brightly. You're not wrong. NRK. A day later, Toji huffed as he, his contact, and a Time Vessel Association member met up at the house of the Children of the Star headquarters, arms crossed. I see, you brought them both? The man who'd met them asked. He was as tall as the Toji and their mediator were, while sporting white skin, many wrinkles, closed eyes, slicked back black hair with a receding hairline, and an odd bump in the middle of his forehead. Wearing a white coat with black trim on the collar, white pants, and white dress shoes, He looked at the two with interest. Toji rubbed the back of his head before prompting his cursed spirit to remove Rico Amani's body from its hold. The worm baby-like creature did as commanded, spewing out the body of the still bloodied Rico onto the floor. The man crouched down and checked her neck and pulse. No pulse, but she's warm. Perhaps the spirit kept the body fresh? Little matter, a body without a pulse was still a dead body. And the boy? That one's a bit harder to figure out, Toji lied while shrugging with his arms crossed. The kid got away and deep into Jujutsu High. I couldn't stay around to go looking for him if I wanted to make this all quick. Ha, unfortunate, the Time Vessel Association member said, pulling out a white cloth and gently placing it over Rico's body. I hold no ill will against you, young one, but their master needed to be preserved in all his pure glory no matter the consequences. We'll simply have to try another time. Toji's eyes narrowed the slightest bit but otherwise were neutral. Quick question, Founding Father Dude. He's not, the mediator said as Toji wore a flat expression. Yeah, I'm curious. You seem to have told all the other guys about this but not us. What's the thing with that Naruto kid anyway? The boy's powers aren't something that will be classified as cursed techniques, the man began, confusing the two as he stood up with the corpse in his arms. No, in fact, he might be the inverse and be a blessed one, likely one of the only ones in this world. You said something to that effect before, their mediator said. But it's kinda stupid? Not helpful? Annoying, yeah, that was the word. Annoying for him to talk in riddles. The man seemed to be considering it before nodding. Since you were the one to actually accomplish your mission, it is as such, Toji frowned. Naruto Uzumaki, the blackened spawn of the Gojo family, will never wield cursed energy when his powers fully awaken, the man explained. He, instead, will wield nothing but the power of life even in his darkest moments. Power of life? What the hell was he talking? No. Toji's eyes widened to impossible degrees as the cryptic man nodded. You seem to understand without me explaining too much more. He turned away and began to leave. Annoying, the mediator grumbled. And the reward? You shall get it and a bit more. This was more than we could have expected despite lacking the boy. We will likely call on your services again. Toji Zenin, Shukong, the Time Vessel Association member told the two men before disappearing. So, can you explain to me what the hell he was talking about? The now-named Shukong asked his colleague. Toji, you know a lot about the Jujutsu world but not this? Toji Zenin huffed. Look, there's a whole big thing about the power of reverse curse technique. Shu looked confused. Think of it like the opposite of cursed energy. So, it's about positive emotions? If such a power existed, it's not the same but I could totally see that kid having it. No, usually, reverse curse technique isn't something that just appears in someone. It's a rare and complex skill and shit that, I think, Toji strained his brow. Only 2 people have it right now. 2 people and a curse, maybe? A cursed spirit can wield positive energy? Shu asked as they departed. How does that make sense? Hey man, I don't know, Toji shrugged as his contact slumped a bit. All I know is that it does have it. Never got invited to join in on it. Never was wanted in the first place. Humph. So, what exactly do you think of your, most likely, next task? Shu asked as they exited the building. Toji considered it with a huff. I'm gonna be very feisty about the price, he grinned a bit. What they're saying about that kid and what's up with him specifically, they're gonna have to hit me with something big to even consider it. Is he that valuable? Like you wouldn't believe. Now, Toji grinned slyly as Shu groaned. How about we go to a fancy restaurant, just you and me, that you use to butter up clients, huh? I mean, I've been a good boy. Ha! Fuck no, you don't even plan on paying. Nope, I only plan on dealing with you on business or in hell. Anarchy. Toji stretched as he walked past the street, forest, several buildings, and down a large stone brick paved area, all owned by the Time Vessel Association if one would believe it in a rather hard-to-find location. God, I doubt even that kid, after all this, is willing to humor me. Well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Maybe he's one of those cold types. There was a chill in his veins and a stench in his nose. A familiar scent. Yo! You're a Zenin, right? The bloody, tattered, injured form of one Satoru Gojo found itself in front of him. Right. That seems about right. Toji stared at him, the young man before him seemingly impossible. For real? Toji asked with a look of disbelief that quickly melted into consideration. I see, that kid's power awakened, huh? Satoru wore a completely squint-eyed expression, body listing to the side nearly to the point of falling. HM? Oh shit. Welp, gotta kill ya. HM, I learned something cool, huh? Satoru smiled vacantly, eyes crazed. But you're right. Gotta kill ya. Toji smirked a bit as he removed that weapon from his cursed spirit's belly. He's fully manifested, hasn't he? You lost, Satoru said with a wide grin. You should have cut off my head, or even used that little special treasure of yours. The special grade tool, inverted spear of heaven, would have made my life a living hell. Or wait, I'd just be dead. The young man laughed without remorse as Toji's form vanished, shooting around him to bring his blade to his neck. The body of Satoru Gojo moved like a leaf in the wind, form floating away with a sort of natural grace that could only be afforded by nature itself. Sorry, Naruto, Satoru had finally realized what was going on with, well, everything. Rico, I'm sorry as well, but I don't feel anything because of your wounds or your death. All I feel is freedom. One of his hands reached out towards Toji, the pinky and ring finger tucked in while the rest jutted out together. Curse technique reversal. Toji's eyes widened in disbelief. Both of them got red. The effect was a bursting red haze that seemed to repel Toji from where they were, all the way back to the headquarters of the Star Children's rooftop. What was likely over half a mile of distance instantly dealt with in under half a second. Toji groaned as he sat up, arm covering his cursed spirit to protect it from harm. Heh, he chuckled before coughing a bit, Satoru's form floating above and towards him. You fucking monster, the young man laughed hysterically. What are you? Superman? Us adults are a lot more sturdy than kids like you, Toji said even as he mentally checked himself over, standing up and stretching his arms. Nothing's broken, but it hurt like hell. Still, he could move. As he locked eyes once more with Satoru Gojo, Toji Fushiguro felt an unease settle inside of his gut. An uneasiness that brought up a memory. I'm in my 20s, ya bastard, the man huffed. Humph, he shrugged. At the end of the day, kid, there are some things we can't be and can. I think in the end, with whatever weird-ass power you think you really have, you'll have to realize what those things are. Right, he had said those words himself. He had no right to be backing out on them now. I'm good, Toji said with a growing grin. I can handle you perfectly. He removed a chain from his spirit's mouth, latching onto it the inverted spear of heaven and spinning it around, the length seemingly never-ending even as it came out of the curse's mouth more and more. Blue's not that hard to deal with, Toji thought as Satoru's eyes zeroed in on him. Infinity's the same, it's never stopped my attacks from being useful, tool, or otherwise. Finally, red, the repelling power of the six eyes, I could probably shield myself with the inverted spear of heaven. His confidence grew more by the second. Megumi, it's an amazing name. A woman grinned. A tomboy, a woman with strength that many a Japanese man wouldn't favor, a woman with an odd delicate side that punctured even himself, the woman he'd been fine giving the entire world for. I ain't sure, I'm not exactly a great name planner, Toji said even as he grinned slyly, prodded the baby's cheek. God, he's gonna hate having such a girly name. Oh, please, the woman blew a raspberry as he laughed. Megumi's gonna love it. His big old dad gave him that name. He'll be like my dad decided I was his fate, she said with a voice that was way deeper than any woman should have had the right to imitate. He just laughed at this strong but feminine character who'd stolen his heart. Naruto had been right in that regard. His eyes widened even as his weapon spun faster. A hypocrite. His weapon swung out, carving through the roof with ease, before he angled the attack towards Satoru. Nothing but a filthy hypocrite, that's really what he was. Satoru's eyes perceived it all. The cursed tool, the chain which was also a cursed tool, their internal techniques, and the look of misery on Toji's face. I know, Satoru had put together all the clues. Honestly, he'd wondered for a while how Naruto had learned some of his martial knowledge. Next, Toji's words, the way he spoke of Naruto, the look on his face in every conflict where the boy was some sort of subject, he'd pieced it together. Naruto had been trained by Toji at some point, for quite a bit of time for the seemingly uncaring man to have become attached. And knowing Naruto like he did, The boy whose heart sat on his sleeve but was wizened by a wisdom that constantly never made sense. The boy likely cared a lot for this man as much as he probably did for him. I'm sorry to you all. Satoru wasn't a machine nor was he God, but he was close. I can't feel like you all do, not in this moment. All he felt in this moment was, throughout all of heaven and earth, only I alone am the honored one. He grinned brightly as Toji shot him a look of horror. The inverted spear of heaven shot around the sky before coming towards his temple. Gojo's right hand was already held up, the thumb, pointer, and middle finger clenched while his pinky and ring finger flared out. And in that moment infinity was mashed together on both ends. NRK. Yutahime gently brushed Naruto's bangs away from his forehead, just finished speaking with Kushina on the phone. God, how did this happen? She whispered as Geto came into the room with a frown, naked torso covered by wrappings and bandages. How is he? He asked her as she sighed. Shoko thinks it was a shock-induced coma, Yutahime told him as he frowned. Naruto's so young, losing all that blood simply wasn't good for him. If those slashes had hit any of his vital points, he might very well have not been here. That's right, because that man, he had attachments to Naruto. It had been something he'd only noticed after putting together the clues. Naruto shouldn't be alive. The boy was just that, a child. He'd be dead with just the most proper stroke. But their assailant hadn't done that. Honestly, at first, Geto was sure that he was doing it so he could steal him later, but that never came. Even with the blonde unprotected, their assailant had left him alone and only taken/killed Rico. It'd be confusing but hard to think about since they were, well, predisposed. All of them. Satoru was alive based on last-minute luck and that man had said it, hadn't he? Thank Naruto that he'd gotten so soft. So yes, he was sure that that man and their friendly blonde child had a connection at some point. Still, no one can know, nor should this get out, their failure. It's all our fault. Had they just listened to Naruto, this might not have been the case. They were already prepared to fight Tengen-sama. They might as well have just stayed in Okinawa. Ugh, don't beat yourself up about it, came a familiar voice from behind him, a small hand on his back. Failure happens, Shoko said to him with a helpful smile as he sighed. For now, I should check on Naruto-kun again. Especially because, well, he seems like he'll be kinda like me, huh? What? He stared at her in confusion, while Yutahime followed suit. Shoko? I guess it's something you guys wouldn't really understand, she said with a shrug, walking over to, and kneeling by, Naruto's form. Naruto's form is full of nothing but positive energy. The area was silent for a moment, the two other brunettes' eyes slowly widening to impossible levels. What? They shouted as Shoko nodded, touching the center of Naruto's scarred chest, the boy in a new white kimono thanks to Yutahime. Naruto can use. Yutahime seemed startled. But that doesn't make sense, he doesn't have cursed energy. Geto's form froze. He doesn't have cursed energy. No cursed energy. Naruto Uzumaki, the child with the ODD heavenly restriction which traded his cursed energy for something they could figure out. Oh my god, he uttered as both women turned to him before jumping as he hit his rear in shock. His heavenly restriction. That's what it does. They blinked at his words before flinching in disbelief. Naruto didn't have cursed energy. Yutahime began in shock. He had positive energy. Shoko chuckled a bit. In a way, that makes way too much sense. As Shoko, this is huge. Yeah, but that also means we can't say anything. Not yet. Geto's narrowed at that. I'd figured, he said after some thought, Yutahime looking confused. Geto-kun, what? I don't understand, she said. Naruto's already being pursued, Iori. And we now know why, but does that mean we have the right to reveal this? Especially in the state he's in? He told her as she flinched, her hands settling on Naruto's forehead. No, for one, this getting out will likely create a large amount of conflict between the branches and big sorcerer families. 2. Right now, we know 3 things. 2.A. The Time Vessel Association wants to use this part of Naruto's skill for something important to them. 2.B. The only thing we know that's important to them is Tengen-sama, Iori realized. Still, for what purpose? I might know, Shoko said, surprising the two with a nod. Let's see. How can I say this? You know how Kushina-san had a supposedly absurd amount of cursed energy. Why yes, Iori said. I've felt it, she told them. Do you think it passed on to Naruto? Yeah, and since it got exchanged for positive energy, Naruto's likely got an obscene amount once he can use his own technique. Imagine that, an amount of positive energy that would be large enough to overshadow likely a quarter of the Jujutsu sorcerers in the world combined, and how that could be used. Did they want to heal Tengen-sama's aging? Geto's question stilled the air as both women turned to him, the young man looking just as startled at his own words. If they think, no, if they know Naruto's ability could have a serious effect on Tengen-sama, it means Naruto's powers aren't even just above average, he frowned. If Naruto's powers can even affect a being like Tengen-sama, that's dangerous information for them to let out, and we need to ensure it doesn't get out. Geto got up. I'm sure Satoru's already working on it. I'll follow his residuals and work together with him to find their bases, their leaders, and likely Rico Amanai's body. There, in the doorway, came the familiar form of Kurwa, the woman looking miserable. I'm so sorry. NRK. Satoru stared at the half-destroyed torso of Toji Fushiguro, father to one Megumi Fushiguro who'd likely be sold to the Zenin clan in a few years, and the master to Naruto Uzumaki who he'd left a cursed tool for, the one currently in Satoru's hand. The man's cursed spirit wriggled in confusion, seemingly unable to understand that its own master had died. In his current state, seeing the world of cursed energy as it was, Satoru felt pity for the cursed spirit who was clearly going to realize what had become of Toji in time. I need to find Rico. His eyes stayed on the still-standing corpse. Damn it, NRK. 2 days later, he held onto the corpse of the girl beneath the sheet as the door to the room opened to reveal Geto and Kurwa. The woman took one look before she hit her knees, face pale, as Geto grit his teeth, head down. Hey! Satoru said simply, staring at Rico with an indecipherable expression. Neither hate nor anger, nor sadness nor confusion. Satoru Gojo just looked pensive. Rico. Kurwa's voice didn't change his expression, but it did gain his attention. I'm sorry, he said to her. We failed, Satoru admitted simply and fully. You were right. We aren't invincible, Geto concluded her past words. Let's go. Should we kill them? He froze, slowly turning around to see Satoru's gaze going around to all the clapping, happy people in the room. It had been nothing but white noise to the revelation, but, now that he was focusing, they were clapping. Just clapping with happy expressions like puppets that copied an action. Like Monk, he held his hand to his mouth. Because there's no point, Satoru. Humph. The young man wore a humorless smile as he slowly walked towards Kurwa. It'd be so easy, Satoru said without inflection, to get rid of these guys, every one of their bases, each and every member. They're a problematic faction, but I can't. It's the right thing to do. No, if I had my way I might have just done it already, Satoru said with a broken grin. I just couldn't handle him looking at me in disappointment. NRK. The return to Jujutsu High had been, thankfully, shorter than most would have wanted. Kurwa had sadly run out of tears by that point, and just looked dead to the world. Satoru crossed his arms in a foldable chair, a towel over his eyes, and Geto was simply left observing the two dead bodies currently in front of Naruto, Toji Zenin's and Rico Amanai's. Yudahime and Shoka looked alarmed while one last person arrived into the room. He was tall, tan-skinned, shaved at the sides, cut-haired, and held a pair of yellow eyes that looked at the situation at hand with nothing more than empathy, sympathy, and pity. Wearing a similar attire to Satoru, he let out a long sigh that was riddled with regret. I should have come when Naruto called, he said with a frown. He was thinking about this even then, huh, Yaga-sensei? Satoru said without a hint of emotion, not a sneer or accusation in sight. No, he'd been asking about a way to establish Rico Amanai's consciousness if she were to mix with Master Tengen, Yaga Mazamichi admitted. I was thinking that I should have gone just to ensure you all were sure of any decisions you would have made. The two in question grimaced, Satoru frowning while Geto grimaced. We messed up, they said, and he wore a look of concern, a hand on Geto's shoulder while another was on Satoru's. Kurwa simply brushed her fingers over Rico's forehead, eyes dark and foggy. She let out a shuddering breath as she touched what felt like still warm skin on the girl's forehead. Kurwa held Rico's hand while doing the same for Naruto's. I'm sorry I was so useless. Had she been more prepared, perhaps they could have done something about this. Poof. The room went silent, the sound confusing them, as they all blinked before turning to the origin of it. The fuck? Huh? What in the world? Satoru sat up, towel falling off his face, as he stared at the pair of black foxy ARS that decided to situate themselves on top of Rico's head. The hell? What? Did she reincarnate as a curse? The sound, the moan, the shuddering eyes of Rico Amani set all their senses on disbelief as her eyes cracked open, familiar dark blue orbs looking up at Kurwa's watering eyes. Hey, I'm back. Rico nearly cried as her caretaker's hands trembled like a rattlesnake's tail. Rico? The woman let go of the two's hands and pulled the warm alive girl into her arms as the others crowded around them in disbelief, eyes wide. What happened? Yurihime asked, confused beyond measure, minding Naruto as the others just stared. Gojo. Satoru just stared in confusion before he saw something. Something unusual but utterly unbelievable. Mandala, he said as the others froze. Just like Naruto's heavenly restriction, there's a similar symbol on Rico's back. Rico's eyes widened as she held Kurwa at arm's length. That's right, she said as they all jumped. It's thanks to Naruto and Kurama I was even alive in the first place, Rico admitted, gaze going to the unconscious boy in question. What? Yaga asked in concern. Kurama, the Kitsune Shikigami? He choked. No, that shouldn't be possible, had it sacrificed itself for the sake of Rico? How? Hey, easy there, Shoko said with a shaky smile. What you're saying is impossible. Neru. Reverse curse technique can't bring someone back to life, don't say Naruto could. The amount of rising horror in Shoko's gut nearly had her barfing as Rico considered her words. Not like if they're dead, the fox girl said, and Shoko felt her heart rate drop in relief, but now she was confused. You got shot, didn't you? Satoru asked her, as she held her forehead where no such mark sat. Hold on, it was just there. He stared at her in disbelief. Kurama did say I'd be a lot sturdier, especially due to Naruto's positive energy. So it's true, Geto said. Naruto doesn't produce cursed energy. Nope, just the positive stuff, Rico said as her tail shifted beneath her skirt. Due to a lot of tail? Yurihime stared in disbelief as Rico blinked before looking down to see. What the hell? She shrieked, jumping up so they could see the appendage bristling in horror. The hell is this? Kurama didn't say shit about it. Wait, no, please, go back, what exactly happened? Shoko asked, holding her noggin as Geto looked unsure of life at the moment. How in the world did Naruto do anything, unless he woke up at the last moment? No, well, Rico fiddled with her skirt. Kurama showed it to me, she said, pointing her thumb at her chest. Inside of me, Kurama is acting as the core of the binding vow we made so he could bring me back from that dark place. I guess this is what he meant about not being able to live a normal life. Rico pouted a bit, looking at the limb appendage. I mean, I feel like that's a bit of an overstatement. Satoru simply got up and reached out above her head. Rico froze, blushing bright red, as he rubbed something. What the hell are you doing, you perv? Crunch. Ah. The older teen dropped as Geto's sweat dropped, the Gojo holding his nuts. And my sacred embers. More like cold grapes. Don't you dare talk about them like that. Rico rolled her eyes, hands on her waist. Look, the situation is basically this. Naruto placed one of his shikigami talismans on me when we were running away, she said, touching her thigh. Oh, it did leave a mark. The group looked and saw what had to be this so-called mandala Satoru spoke of. That's the one that was in his eye. The talisman did this? Yurihime asked, completely confused. I don't. I mean, yes, Naruto would learn he could time his tools to release his spirits at opportune moments, but they shouldn't just possess you. No, well, I guess that's kinda what happened, but it's not the talisman that did it, Rico said as Shoko blinked before she laughed uncontrollably. See, she gets it. She couldn't explain shit, Satoru said with a groan before being jostled by Shoko's kick to his rear. Shush, she said to him. I told Geto this 3 days ago, the young man in question choked. She explained her thought process, and the path it was likely leading down. He used positive energy to reverse the talisman, Yurihime realized. Still, that shouldn't. Is Naruto's reverse curse technique that powerful? Well, it's the third skill he locked away by pushing it, Rico explained, confusing the group again. Third skill? Satoru said, before he started laughing. No fucking way. He rolled as Rico grinned. See, he gets it. Please explain it to people who don't, Yaga said, eyes closed and hands massaging his temple. What's happening? The two perked up before looking at one another and then him. Naruto wields a power similar to the six eyes. The room was silent as Yaga's hands trembled against his noggin. Shoko wheezed. Yudahime froze. Kurwa gasped. And Geto stared in utter disbelief. It's his curse technique, the three-tailed mandala, Rico said as Satoru grinned, slicking back his hair. And it's the inverse of the six eyes and or limitless, he finished. The entire group damn near turned to stone. They just sat there as the two's words processed. Hold on. That's a bit much. Shoko swallowed as Satoru shrugged. It's all that makes sense, he said. If six eyes is the ability to see, understand, and break down cursed energy, Naruto would wield something opposite of it due to both being born with it, and his heavenly restriction which opposed its original purpose. Yep. Rico grinned, showing sharp teeth. The thing is, from what Kurama told me, Naruto believes that the two powers mix together due to the energy feeding his half-baked six eyes being positive energy. If that's true, then it changed the function of it due to the nature of positive energy, and its rarity. I think, and no. That's not a good response. Yudahime wheezed. Did you two realize how dangerous Naruto's life would be if this ever got out? It's not like we want him in danger, Satoru said, ruffling his head of hair. But it's the truth of the matter. It's why Naruto's sense could process limitless ability even if only a bit. It's why my powers would constantly get rebuffed. His powers run counter to my own, and that's the important part. Geto was just left staring as he tried to process the magnitude of what was being stated. So what? He's going to have perfect control of infinity applied to his version of six eyes. God, that sentence made his skin crawl. What? Geto looked so confused. I don't think so, Yudahime said slowly. If what they say is true, that is, but if it is, she sighed while brushing one of Naruto's bangs away. It means the inverse, doesn't it? Not infinity in this case? Satoru considered the idea, eyes closing as his head tilted. You're probably right. What does that even imply? Yaga groaned, holding his head with both hands. What exactly would the inverse of six eyes and limitless allow? Speaking of, you don't know if he has limitless inverse? The thing is, Rico began. Neither Naruto nor Kurama were sure. This is all new territory for them. All I can guess is, well, she rubbed the back of her head. If limitless is reversed, right? Wouldn't that mean it's limited? Yes? Shoko said very unsurely. What would that mean, though? It has a limit, but what is defined as a limit? I don't know. Geto groaned a bit. For now, what do we do? He asked the room. They were silent at his question. Naruto's powers are one thing, he began again. But Rico and I, the former star plasma vessel, is alive and Tengen-sama's merger time has passed. Then it won't matter, right? Rico asked them with a frown. And not to say I'm not terrified of what someone might do to me, mostly the Time Vessel Association, but it's too late, isn't it? How long has it been since the merger date? 4 days, basically 5 since it's almost night, Satoru said with a hum and a look at Naruto. This changes a lot of things, way too many, but Rico's not going back. It'd solve nothing. It's true, Geto said with a smile as the fox girl sighed in relief. You're a fox girl now, he added like it was the oddest thing to date. It kinda was only by proxy, but since Naruto was currently down. Why yep. Rico said with a look that said she had no idea what to do. So, you guys don't have more room and board, do ya? We'll take you in, but perhaps, Yudahime began. Perhaps she shouldn't stay at this branch? I don't think Auntie would mind taking her in, Satoru said with a soft breath. Honestly, I'm not sure what to really do. I don't have all the answers, I know that now. Kurwa considered all their words. Perhaps, since this is the case, she began, standing up. It'd be for the best if I, Rico, Naruto-kun, and someone else goes away from Tokyo Jujutsu High. Yaga considered her proposal. Still, Naruto's going to need more protection now than ever before. And even unknowingly he'll get that here, he frowned, shooting the comatose boy a look of sympathy. His life has become just as important as Satoru's, and that fact isn't even known enough to give him the protection he actually needs elsewhere. Humph, always knew he was special, Satoru said, considering the boy. I made a binding vow with Kurama to protect Naruto, Rico said with a look of determination. But I need to get stronger. I have cursed energy, but I don't know how to use it, and I got Kurama's powers, I bet. But once again, I have no idea what I'd be doing. I'll teach you then, Yudahime said with a small smile as Rico sighed in relief. I and Masamichi-sensei are the ones most knowledgeable of Naruto's shikigami, and he can't leave. It'd be too suspicious, but I'm to start my tenure in Kyoto High in 3 years' time. They won't mind me going over there often. By that time, you should have a good grasp on your skills, and Naruto will, hopefully, be awake. Oh, he will. He's currently sort of self-sealed himself, the girl explained with a frown. Right now, Naruto's in the most vulnerable state he could possibly be in due to having to keep my body alive and my spirit attached. Kurama said due to the severity of what he did, he'd be asleep for a month a day after, but due to his wounds, he immediately fell into it. A month-long sealing. Geto winced painfully at that while the others responded with their own grimaces. That's too steep to be of any use. What happens if he uses it in the middle of battle? That's why it's a final skill, an odd one with some countdown, Rico explained, knocking her fist against her skull. The thing is, Kurama knew everything Naruto did before he merged with me, so I know the intermediate stuff on Jujutsu, thankfully. A little power leveling, he's really too nice sometimes. That's convenient but not unpleasant, Yudahime smiled. If that's the case, that will allow us to skip a lot of the theories you need to normally learn. Rico smiled shakily as Satoru snickered. Still, you know how cursed energy works, don't you? Rico looked down at her open hands before she clenched them. A small blue flame of energy formed over her hands as she clenched the tighter. Just because I do doesn't mean it's any. Her power went out. Good. That will take some time, Yaga said with a frown. Still, a human soul should already emit cursed energy, and if Kurama was the link binding her soul to life itself, that would mean she inherited his self-sustained core. Would she have a perpetual cursed energy engine of sorts? He didn't know. He'd need to ask her in private. We'll work on it, Yudahime said with a nod. Kurama might be able to help as well. I'm not much more than a bodyguard, the woman in question said before bowing. But if I can be of assistance, please, allow me to pay you back for keeping Rico alive and making her stronger. I don't think I'll ever repay you for that. Hey, don't forget me, Rico said, bowing with her. I owe Neru, Geto, and Sato a lot, she admitted, looking embarrassed. A lot. And not just the give me back my life thing, which isn't weird or anything, Shoko said flatly while the younger female giggled nervously. Well, the one big thing I can think of that needs to happen for you is to get a new name, Rico balked. Both of you, maybe just your last names, but you need to remove your names from the registry of Japan and re-enter it. I'll handle it, Yaga said with a groan. I have some help in the government who owe me a bit. They'll be able to do it. Satoru's eyes widened as he remembered something. Still, for now you all need rest, he added, looking at Satoru and Geto with a look that brokered no argument. Perhaps Naruto's parents will be able to take you two in without issue. They should be back tomorrow morning. For now, everyone, get some rest. He got up, shot the group one last nod, and then left with a hand rubbing his nape. He's got a point, Shoko shrugged. For now, I guess we need to take Toji Zenin's corpse and she looked at Satoru who rubbed the back of his head. I wanted to give Naruto at least one more chance to see the guy, but I guess a tombstone will have to work. He sighed but got up and raised a hand, Toji's corpse lifting in the air without too much effort. God, does anyone know any good spots? I kind of want to put his name on the stone. Why? Was he not the enemy? Yudahime asked as Rico nodded, eyes narrowed, before they closed. He cared, she said, looking at Naruto. I think he knew Neru. He did, Satoru said, shocking Yudahime and Shoko, Geto nodding. Figure it out too? He literally told our broken bodies that Naruto was the reason he hadn't killed us, the other young man said, surprising even Satoru. We owe Naruto a lot for essentially ensuring we all got out alive. Here, Geto pulled out his phone before doing a couple taps. There's an area I know that's rather nice. I rest there sometimes. And sent. Thanks for the space. With that, Satoru walked over to Naruto before placing something down by his head. Your master's last blessing, I guess, the older Gojo said before walking off with Toji's body. The others looked at what was clearly a cursed tool. He really trained him, Shoko said as she crouched down before picking up the cursed item. It was around a foot in size and, well, looked like, at best, a golden baton with something wrapped around its center. Huh? She fiddled with what looked like a tied-up piece of paper. Undoing its spines, she opened it up to read its contents. Wait, hold on, this is a bank account? Rico blinked, coming over with the others to stare at it. Did he want to leave it all with Naruto? Was this really done by the man who'd killed her? Really? I mean, it's got a password, hints to secret lots, and everything, Geto said, looking at some of the things. Is it all monetary? Or is there more? They didn't know, and likely never would until Naruto awoke. Yet, Geto saw one particular thing. An address? It's for the best to leave it be, Yudahime said, gently taking it from Shoko before re-rolling it, and tying it around the bat and cursed tool. It's not ours to deal with, it's Naruto's, she declared before placing it on the boy in question's chest and lifting him up. Rico-san, Kurwa-san, you can both sleep in the same room as us. It'd be for the best that Naruto has as much protection as possible. I'll come as well, Geto nodded. I'm sure Satoru will end up in the room regardless, so might as well have us all in there. NRK. Come midnight, Satoru stared at the others as they slept before his gaze fell on Yudahime holding on to Naruto's form. She always was the most attached to him. He questioned if there wasn't a worrying reason for that. I'm glad you're alive, Satoru whispered to the blonde asleep next to him. This entire situation only worked out because of you, he added with an arm over his eyes. For all that I'm blessed, none of it mattered. Gojo, Yudahime's voice reached him, and he sighed. It's not wrong to feel disappointed in oneself for their own mistake, but that's where you have to learn and grow. He shifted his arm to allow one eye to lock gaze with the awake woman's pair, brown to silvery blue. I know. Naruto wouldn't want you beating yourself up either. Yeah, that kid's something else when it comes to understanding people, Satoru said as she nodded before closing her eyes. I can tell, you'll protect him with your life. She smiled a bit. Of course, he's my dear student, I couldn't do anything less. Spoken like a true teacher. Satoru kind of wished he might be able to spout such words, himself, one day. NRK. The entire group were awoken by the sound of a mother throwing open the door. Naruto? Kushina shouted as she rushed inside in a red chipao and black tights. Oh, thank God, she hit her knees in relief while the other began to get up and a man entered the room. Satoru-kun, he said, Satoru rubbing the back of his head as he sat up. Thanks for keeping things going. It's more him than me, uncle. Kushina's husband, Minato Uzumaki, wore a complicated solemn expression at that. He was a moderately tall man with familiar features to their little blonde wonder. Same skin, eyes to his right eye, and hair with the father's being longer with smaller spikes, and two long bangs that came down the sides of his head. Wearing a dark blue cheongsam and black pants, he quickly entered and sat by his wife, the two looking at Naruto in relief. And Minato-san, Geto said with an arm rubbing his eye, the entire group in their pajamas, or borrowed ones in Kurwa and Rico's cases. When did you both get back? Just a couple seconds ago, Minato answered as he saw the new scars on his son's chest. God, the one time we decide to leave, he becomes wanted, it's kinda surreal. Apologies. It's not your fault. Kushina sighed before running her finger down one of her son's whisker marks. Come on, all of you, she said, getting up with a smile. Clean up and come down to the mess hall for some breakfast. We can talk then. NRK. One cleaning and stretching session later, the group were doing as Kushina said, eating together in a corner of one of their cafeteria areas on the campus. Informing the parents of their young knocked-out comrade of everything, the two had one thing to say. Wow, we didn't. Yikes, Kushina and Minato said in disbelief. We. In a way, I guess I should have been more proactive in Naruto's development, Minato said with a sigh and groan. Still, only you all know? Us and Yaga-sensei, Geto explained, the young man nursing some tea. So, what do you really think? He was worried for Naruto, really he was. The boy would become a hot topic in time. There was no doubt in Geto's mind that the blonde's situation would become an open issue eventually. I can tell what you're thinking, Kushina said sadly. It's only a matter of time, There's not a lot we can do to stop Naruto from becoming known for this situation. It'd be impossible to stop. You think so? Shoko rubbed the back of her head. Still, what could we do in the meantime? I mean, Iori's gonna be taking care of Rico and Kurwa, but Naruto's not gonna be awake for another 28 days, Rico nodded. And right now, the plasma vessel cult is still active. The moment they know Toji's dead, that's not gonna end well. There's a high chance they'll hire more people to compensate, Minato said. More people equals more individuals who might end up knowing. They may even promise these others the chance to use Naruto's power for a contract. His eyes narrowed. For now, we need to ensure Naruto's never left alone. He sealed himself, is currently half-baked, if you will, due to forcing an activation of an unengraved curse. Blessed technique, he stated. At present, Rico-kun is holding Kurama within her, and I can assume that she likely has a powerful connection to Naruto now. Rico blinked, fox ears flicking up before she slammed them down, shivering at the feeling. Why yep, she swallowed, shivering again. Oh god, am I gonna have to get used to these? It seems so, Yudaheim said with a sigh, drinking some tea. Still, right now, I suppose the best course of action would be to await Naruto's awakening. There's nothing in need of too much attention, yes? I mean, we still have to find the heads of the Time Vessel Association, Satoru said, a pancake half dripping with syrup stabbed by a fork. As long as they're around, Naruto and Rico aren't safe. He's right, Geto said as Yaga arrived in the cafeteria. Yaga. Morning, the teacher said, nodding to Minato and Kushina. So they've told you everything, right? Yes, Kushina tapped her noggin with her fingers. Why is the world seemingly after my child? Honestly, next thing I know, he's gonna be in an arranged marriage with a Zenin. The cafeteria doors opened and the entire group felt the universe tickle them. For, at that very entrance, stood 3 members of the Zenin clan. Oh, fuck my life. They watched them go about their business and let out a collective sigh of relief as the 3 got food and seated themselves far from them. Oh god, the universe almost made my life more finite than it is, Shoko said as Rico grinned nervously, holding her hands over her fox ears. It's true, Shu told me that Toji's dead. She froze, eyes widening as she turned her head to the Zenin trio. Gee guys, she swallowed as they stared at her before seeing her twitching ears beneath her hands. Satoru's eyes widened before they focused. Keep listening, he told her. Rico nodded. It's good news, came one of the 3 Zenin said. Still, Naobito, what do you plan to do with that other one? This was said by a man who was large and tall with wild black hair, tan skin, a scar on his forehead, small black eyes, and thick eyebrows. Wearing a darkly colored kimono, he was currently speaking with the oldest among the 3 of them. That's odd for you to say, the old man said with a laugh, drinking some form of alcohol even then. Ah, he's your brother, Junichi. I'd expect you to feel some kind of way. The old man was tall, with lightly tanned wrinkled skin, gray-green eyes, a pointy mustache, and gray hair that was slicked back and flared out by his nape. Wearing a muted green kimono, he was currently wielding a sake gourd and drinking from it without rest. Naobito Zenin grinned a bit as Junichi's expression didn't change. Why? I'd long since disowned my sibling. We share nothing but a name and we all know he long since removed even that, Junichi said, cupping his chin. Ignore that, what do we do about his son? Naobito hummed before taking another swig of his sake. What do you want to do? He grinned a bit. We don't even know if the boy's as useless as his father or not, but we will know. The boy's what? 6? 5? He should be showing signs of accursed technique soon, and if he does, we'll do as we spoke with Toji. Good God, Kushina grimaced. That's sick. It's wrong on a level we can't imagine, Yudaheim sighed. But individuals like us have no right to interfere. Satoru simply kept his mouth covered. He didn't say anything. I'll wait until Naruto's awake. It'd be best to make such a decision with all parties connected involved, of course, ignoring the Zenin family. He was Megumi Fushiguro, after all. Back with the Zenin trio, the 3rd man grunted a bit. TCH, this again, he grumbled as the other 2 rolled their eyes. Why do we care about his children to this extent? You chose to ignore his very existence, and yet you're willing to give his progeny attention? He was tall like his fellow family members with slightly wrinkled fair skin, black eyes, and slicked back black hair pulled into a high ponytail. Wearing a dark green kimono, he grimaced as Naruto chuckled and Junichi cupped his chin. Despite his failure as a sorcerer, Toji could very well have produced decent children. This one's even a boy, it'd be ignorant of us to not check, and he sold him to us on contract, Junichi said. His other child is of no significance, that gal. All we need to know is if Megumi Fushiguro is worthwhile. We'll ignore them otherwise, Oji. We should have erased his line completely. Oji Zenin grimaced mentally but kept his real expression slacking. And what happens if he doesn't wish to come? Ha! The oldest among them smirked. Right. As headstrong as always, Minato muttered as the others winced. This isn't exactly the kind of image one would expect of wise elders, he added as Geto nodded, Kurwa looking down in thought. They listened in through Rico a bit more before gaining one last bit of information that was odd, to say the least. That blonde Gojo, honestly, I'm confused by this one. Rico relayed the words and Satoru's eyebrows furrowed. Humph, it's not like it's my business, Naruto said. We have enough children with problems to deal with. Maki's likeness to Toji is becoming concerning and Mai's defective curse technique is utterly pathetic. Their places wouldn't have changed much, regardless. They are weak and work as servants as they should, Junichi said. But I am bothered by the blonde one. Why? Oji asked. Even other children, are you that unconcerned with your own blood? Don't test me, Oji, those failure daughters of yours aren't our pathetic marks. There was growling, likely from this Oji guy and Rico, herself, but she listened still. TCH. Junichi, why are you so obsessed with the boy? Naruto asked, the sound of glugging reaching Rico's fox ears. What? Are you trying to upset the Gojo clan? We couldn't do that unless we attacked a member they actually cared about, this Junichi guy said, but Rico felt like he wasn't scared of this idea. No, I'm wondering if Ranta wouldn't find some kind of purpose through him. That boy. He's too kind, too polite. He is one of the few who didn't despise Toji's existence despite wielding a rather amazing curse technique. So what? You wish for the two to do battle? I wish for him to find out what combat will be and might be able to use that useless blonde for an experiment. Rico fully covered her ears at Kushuna's raised hand gesture. I might end up attacking a Zenin, everyone, she said with a slow breath, eyes narrowed. I'm very close to causing a repeat of a feud. Yeah, I'm not sure if we need the Zenin clan save for a few, Satoru said with a growing smile. 2 big sorcerer families might be good enough. Kushuna's eyes closed before her shoulders dropped. All right, stop, Satoru-kun, you're scaring the others. Yudahime felt a nervous sweat fall down her nape as Satoru closed those eyes before pulling out his usual sunglasses, donning them and allowing that pressure to drop. That's not a good way of doing things, Geto said, but his hackles had raised at some point. When did he change so much? What had happened? Was his near-death enough to turn Satoru into more of a monster? Shoko grinned despite the sweat on her brow. So, what do we do now? If they try and call Naruto into a fight, which they'd die trying to do, Minato said simply. Alright, which would be a bad idea. When had even the Meriden man become such a scary Gojo? They might find out about Naruto's comatose state. The elders are going to want an update on the situation, soon, Jaga told the group with a frown. At best, I can delay them 2 weeks, but that's it. In 2 weeks' time, they'll know that he's comatose but nothing else. Would that be bad? Rico asked, and the man wore a pensive expression. Do they hate him? No, thankfully, but they're going to want to know what happened and, likely, Yaga grimaced. They'll call him, Satoru, and Geto in for questioning regardless. They're going to want to know why you two failed, and I doubt my words will be enough. The 2 young men wore frowning expressions, looking at one another. If that's the case, we can tell them that Naruto got hit with an odd technique from one of the hired hands, Geto said after some consideration. That said, Am and I really can't be here for long as is. Even right now is dangerous, he whispered, eyes going to the Zenin men. The moment anyone sees your face, it'll only be a matter of time until the elders know, and I doubt fox ears and a tail will be easy to dismiss. If we can, we'll be taking you to Kyoto in an hour, Rico-kun, Minato said, confusing the others. Didn't you guys just get back? Shoko asked. Wouldn't you want to rest? Oh, we will. We'll just go to Kyoto, drop her and Kurwa off, and be back in an hour, Minato told her with a smile as the others stared at him. Ah, they don't know, he realized as Kushina grinned. Wait, don't know what? Satoru asked, leaning on Kushina's shoulder and looking at the chuckling Minato while his auntie rolled her eyes. Come on, what's going on? What? You developed teleportation? Yes, Minato answered with a smile. The group was silent as he pulled something out of his pocket. He gently placed it on the table and allowed them all to see what had to be a talisman. I'd been working on something for the past couple of years since I've been involved in this side, he told the still confused group. I finally completed it, what is essentially the penultimate form of my curse technique, the Hiratian talisman. Hey, you said teleportation like it was the most simple thing in the world, Rico said with a swallow. What? My curse technique is coordinate reversal, Minato explained. The real name is Energy Coordinate Zero Cursed. Stop, please, we'll be here all day, Satoru said flatly as Minato pouted. My god, for a genius your naming sense is ass, he added as Kushina grinned. Coordinate reversal is fine, explain yourself. Humph, the others snickered or rolled their eyes at the genius's look of being put out. The point is that my curse technique allows the switching of 2 bits of energy, whether it's myself or something I've tagged with my cursed energy. I can use this with things I've ensured have my cursed energy, or things tagged by talismans with my cursed energy, or have been recognized by my cursed energy. What does that have to do with teleportation? Kurwa asked, confused. The distance between here and Kyoto isn't small, Uzumaki-san. Surely you can't switch between such distances. But I can. The group was silent. Even Geto took a couple seconds to realize what exactly the man was insinuating. Why you can transport between branches? The young man looked so alarmed while the others choked. That's incredible? Outrageous? Genius! That was the word that came up. This man who'd not even been in this world for as long as they had was essentially described by that one word. A genius of nearly ridiculous intelligence. But why didn't you? Shoko asked, looking aghast. We finished it in China, Kushina smiled. It required some studying while we were there and I can get us into places Minato can't go, so that's why we left Naruto in here. God, and you were a civilian. Satoru snickered even as Yudahime swallowed and Yaga contemplated the sheer possibilities of such an ability. Lord, next thing you know we're gonna pick up a kid off the street who can stop time. I doubt it, but the world's a vast place, Minato smiled. Though, now that we know the issue with Naruto, it's clear this won't work on him. Especially if he's now rolling with positive energy. That's right, Yudahime considered. Naruto rebuffs curse techniques? She asked Satoru, who shrugged. 6 eyes would usually get rebuffed, and that was before he forced it to activate. Lord knows what'll happen now, he said. But using that as a base, he should be capable of it. That's a good skill to have if he's going to fight sorcerers or cursed spirits. He'll just need to master it, since I could still see a bit into his system. We know way too many ridiculous people. Shoko's sweat dropped as Geto laughed a bit. Still, when it does come out, at least that he can use reverse cursed technique, it'll be nice to have what's essentially a protege, she said with a bright smile. Ah, that's true, Naruto will be a hell of a field medic, Geto smiled. And he'll be someone who actually goes into the field. Bite me, I don't have to and I can make money, yay. Our healer, of course. The others chuckled or grinned. NRK. Satoru whistled as he stood by the door of the Uzumaki home. Holy shit, it's real, he said in awe as Rico appeared behind him. Looking so in disbelief, he was snickering. My god, my family's incredible. That's insane. The fox girl wheezed as Shoko came through. She took one look around and balked. I think he needs to set up some of these by a beach, maybe? She asked the two with a bright, hopeful expression. My god, we have teleportation now. Minato, Kushina, Kurwa, and Yaga came through moments later. The cursed puppet maker took one look around and turned to Minato. Please send me back. I don't want to know anymore, he said with an apathetic voice, a shining talisman on all the group's shoulders. Minato chuckled before holding his shoulder. Sure. They disappeared in a pulse of blue, leaving behind a chuckling Kushina and in disbelief Kurwa. I don't think he's going to recover from that for a while, Kushina said. NRK. Geto just stared in awe as Yaga sat in a corner and looked to all the world like he'd seen God. You'd be special grade in an instant if this came out, he said to the chuckling Minato, essentially cinching in the man's abilities. How insane. That's incredible, Yudahime said, sitting next to Naruto in his room in Tokyo Jujutsu High. I guess you'll have to travel back normally one day, Naruto-kun, she told the unconscious boy. There's a lot to explain to you and vice versa. NRK, 2 weeks later. 2 weeks passed pretty quickly after the world officially stopped making sense. Their Geto, Satoru, and Yaga stood in front of a wide octagonal building with gray walls, a dull red roof, and wooden windows. Standing directly in front of the 2 large closed doors, they adjusted their new clean outfits before going in. Remember the story, Yaga explained. Naruto's comatose nature is due to a technique, that's not wrong. It's a fact that Shoko can vouch for, Geto whispered back. He'll be awake in 2 weeks' time. And don't let him try to see him yet, Satoru finished, tilting his sunglasses up. Shouldn't be too bad. They walked into the internal outer circle, a big-looking hall that held with 0-paneled floors, old furniture, and burning incense. Ahead of them, 10 meters or so, were another set of doors that led to the chambers of their elders. The distance was crossed quickly and they went through those next set of doors. The change in their surroundings was immediate as soon as they entered and the doors closed. Black filled in their surroundings with the only things being lit being a series of candles placed inside an open portion of pillars all around. They walked ahead for a bit more candles becoming lit before a series of golden and black screens sprung to life along with them. Geto looked around. They're all here. Wait. His eyebrows shot into his hairline at a voice. Ha! No way. Yaga frowned. Naobito Zenin? The three's track came to a stop, surrounded by numerous screens. Superiors. The three bowed in their own ways, Satoru's being the least refined with his hands in his pockets, and his back a bit slouched. Yo, higher-ups, he said with a smile that got another laugh out of the Zenin clan head. What can we do for you? Cut the fat, Satoru Gojo, one of them said, their screen a bit brighter as he spoke. You know why you're here. The Gojo clan head shrugged. Alright, we'll explain everything. They went in turns, each of the three explaining a bit of the details, with Yaga handling the pre-mission explanation and the updates passed between himself, Tengen, and Naruto. Geto about the mission's length, Rico's status throughout, and the plans. And finally, Satoru about the fights they got into. All of them, whether they included Naruto, Geto, or the Gojo himself. By the end of it all, it ended with their agreed-upon story. And, as such, Naruto Uzumaki is in a comatose state due to the technique brought about by the enemy, Yaga explained without a hint of a lie. No lies, only half-truths, it shouldn't be a problem. All that they'd said was factually correct, after all. I thought the boy was unable to use cursed energy, one superior asked as Yaga nodded. He can't, but due to a bit of application from my own knowledge and talisman work from both Yudahime and the boy's father, we created weak shikigami for him to work alongside for the time being. His heavenly restriction prevents a lot, but his intuition in using them, his martial skills, and his ability to react are greater than a decent amount of sorcerers the ages above him. The superior murmured as Satoru smiled a bit. You're soft on him, too, he thought about Yaga. Yep, the kid's reactions are, being perfectly honest, close to my own. Satoru fluffed the praise as more of the superiors perked up or murmured. Nonsense, another said, voice filled with annoyance and disagreement. He is a boy. Most likely not, Geto stated politely, hands behind his back. With all due respect, sir, Naruto's current skills aren't really questionable as far as we are concerned, he said with a smile. More murmurs had the three nodding. Then Naobito opened his mouth. So, you don't mind if he, say, sparred with a sorcerer above his age? The old man asked as the three hummed. I doubt he'd mind, Satoru said as Geto nodded and Yaga cupped his chin. The thing is, you know? He's kinda predisposed. After being hurt by none other than Toji. The area was silent as even Satoru stared in confusion and some shock. Wait, fuck, he knows that much? What? Yaga's hands clenched a bit while Geto's eyes snapped open. What? The three asked as the Zenin head chuckled a bit. It's quite understandable. You wouldn't know that some of our members are always prepared to aid Tengen-sama, the old man said. With shikigami, as you're so familiar with, we could respond to the situation, but you were there was no need, so we just watched. Something was off here. How? Wait, Geto's eyes widened. Hadn't they said something about a shoe? This person who informed them Toji was dead, oh fuck. We hadn't known he was of the Zenin clan until after he killed Rico Amanai. Don't tell him they knew she was. Unfortunate as that is, I could care less about the girl, both good and bad. What I'd like to know is how the boy survived such vicious wounds. Crap. Naruto Uzumaki nearly died. It was a miracle that he was alive, but all that undue stress and shock put him into a coma, Yaga explained. Toji spared some random boy, huh? The old man hummed. No, I don't believe that. There's something curious afoot. Especially due to his moniker, no? The sorcerer killer, yes? Another asked, and the Zenin head chuckled. Oh, bastard! Satoru's eyes narrowed even as his mouth stayed in a smile. He's smart, though, and knows Toji enough to cause problems. How unfortunate. Still, maybe he just didn't care about a kid enough. You seem to have a horrible opinion of him, but surely he wasn't that bad. Perhaps there was a shuffle of cloth. Yet I can't very well just drop it. I'm too intrigued. I'd like to meet this brat of the Gojo family when he awakens. Geto considered the implications of this. Why? I'd ask because Naruto literally has no connection to you and probably won't be as knowledgeable as us. Children have an odd way of showing out ideas and traits. My own son is in that boat. I simply need to speak with him. Well, that could be good or bad. Well, that'll only be allowed when I allow it, too, Satoru said with a bigger grin. When I think Naruto's prepared to deal with the big old Zenin head, himself, I'll let him go, but not a second more. There was silence and a pressure in the air as both big family heads covered the space in tension. It came, and then went, getting a huff out of Naobito. Honestly, your youth have no sympathy for elderly folk, the man said to Yaga, sounding like he was pouting. With all due respect, I control him only so far, the teacher said completely truthfully. The world would be a far different place if Satoru was obedient. They all agreed on that particular topic. Don't let this old man fall to bones. Now, Gojo, I am curious. As much as it pains me to admit it, Naruto's very likely to meet you without issue. Satoru said with a shrug as Naobito made a confused sound. He doesn't care about the bad blood from before he was even born. To him, that kind of stuff doesn't matter. It's not current-day people who've caused it. He'll simply see you as a Zenin clan member who wants to speak with him. There's nothing more to it. Geto smiled as Yaga nodded. It's true, the cursed spirit user said. Naruto's wise in ways others aren't. We've experienced it firsthand with the belated star plasma vessel. He'll likely meet you and speak at length if he has your ear. He grinned a bit. You might find yourself introspective afterward. They speak well of this child, Yaga, Naobito said with a curious hum. I'm sure speaking to this Gojo will bear more interesting fruit than the other. Satoru's grin was unfazed, causing Naobito to smirk. You believe in this boy more than I expected. Well, Naobito was sure to see if this child wasn't as wise as he was being told. Go on. Does anyone else need anything of them? There were murmurs but no real voices of agreement. Bring Naruto Uzumaki back to these chambers when he awakens, one of the other superiors said. That is all. The three nodded, bowing once more in their own ways before leaving. As they left, the superiors spoke amongst themselves. What was that show you were putting on for, Naobito? One of the others asked the Zenin clan head, the man drinking some more sake. What is it about Naruto Uzumaki that interests you, really? Hee, the man chuckled. Interest. My nephew wishes to have his student cousin spar with him, and I want to assess this sad boy. And your remark about Toji? Simply putting them in their place. They were really good about telling nothing but the truth, the man smirked. I was just ensuring them that should something happen, we would step in. NRK. God, that old fart's good, Satoru said as he, Yaga, and Geto sat in Naruto's room, sitting around the boy's futon. In a way, I'm not as surprised, and that's my fault, sorry. It's fine, in the heat of the moment, we didn't consider how the other sorcerer families would respond, Geto said. For now, though, he knows more than others would. He's curious about Naruto, and most of us know that he's gonna meet him without a problem. It seems so, Yaga said. For now, we'll have to follow through on our words and the superior's wants. When Naruto awakes, we'll give him a day to truly realize what's going on before taking him to meet them, and then prepare him to meet Naobito. That's about all we can do, Satoru said, looking down at his cousin. God, you're asleep and somehow making things complicated, he chuckled as Geto hummed before looking at something with a raised brow. Huh! He reached out before pulling Naruto's shikigami talisman out from his pocket, the item glowing. What the heck? Satoru and Yaga blinked, looking at it. What's happening? Is he communicating? Or is it Sage? He asked, easily using the boy's name for his Oni shikigami. Satoru took off his glasses. What? He blinked in confusion, reaching out for the talisman and taking it from Geto. He flapped it. Come out, Sage. The tag glowed before a burst of smoke released Naruto's shikigami, Sage, and the Oni child looked different. Where before, he only had a head of spiky white hair, now he had a few sideburns, crazily enough, and a furry collar. Above his closed eyes, his horns had gotten bigger, too, while he was now a bit taller. What the heck? Yaga blinked, the shikigami turning to him before bowing. The man's form leaned forward in disbelief as the Oni child's eyes opened, and they found a shocking mandala within his left pupil. Sir, the creature spoke, startling them. What? You can talk? Geto asked in disbelief as the shikigami nodded, alarming him more. Wait, no, stop. You understand me? Of course, Master's knowledge was passed on to both me and Kara, the Oni child said as Yaga stared in disbelief. That smart idiot probably didn't say anything because he was in a rush. Hehe, Satoru blinked before snickering a bit. Huh, you got a mouth on ya, huh? I was given life and Master would never forsake me having my own quirks, the creature said with a smirk as Yaga choked. And yes, pleased to meet you, our creator. What exactly did Naruto's positive energy do? Yaga asked him in disbelief. I don't, you're alive, he said in awe as Sage nodded with a smile. Master's positive energy is like cursed energy. It can have qualities to it, all positive energy does. His comes with the ability to enhance life and stuff, the Oni said as Geto blinked. Enhance life? He asked. There was another word, I think? It started with a V or something. Vitality, Yaga said as Satoru grinned. Naruto's positive energy enhances life itself, for lack of a better phrase. Is that what you meant? Yerp. The big man smiled a bit at the energy in the spirit. Master's power is special in that it comes from things like the core of all life. The three men's eyes widened. What do you mean? Is that the reverse of the limitless? Satoru asked. I think so, the Oni said. The thing is, the core of all life isn't some weird old thing like limitless. Geto snickered as Satoru slumped. The core of all life allows Master's positive energy to have its lifey element. I guess it is like limitless, Yaga corrected for the spirit. The thing is, looking at it like this, limitless is like a doorway to energy that can be composed between infinity and negative infinity. Think of it like a second power source that he pulls from by exchanging cursed energy. Like a library, Geto said. So, in Naruto's case, core of all life is different. It's like Kool-Aid, Satoru said with a shrug. If Naruto's positive energy is like water, core of all life mixes with it, and gives his positive energy a life-enhancing element. So, with three-tailed mandala, he can use that energy into a blessed technique, he grinned. Okay, having his powers down more accurately helps in thinking on how he can get stronger, hee. So, Sage-kun, are you imbued with core of all life? Yaga asked. Yeah and nah, the man smiled at the childish Oni's wavy hand. The thing is, Master's power helps give us souls based on his info from the blood. We are connected. The moment something happens to that connection, we're kaput, the said animatedly, dragging his thumb across his neck. Wait, Geto blinked. So you can't be exorcised? I don't think so. Well, maybe. Right now, the power in Master isn't settled. We heard about that, Satoru said. He forced it out too early to save Rico. And now, the other 40%, our super technique, our super tech can't be used, the shikigami said, getting a nod out of the three. Master probably can't even use the first one though, so that's kinda far off. So if I may, Naruto's three-tailed mandala is, in fact, the inverse of the six eyes, right? Yaga asked. Yep, Master's three-tailed mandala allows him to use positive stuff a lot more than most people. He can't see like the six eyes, but he can use positive energy like a champ. I see, Satoru cupped his chin in thought. So, just wondering, is there a way for him to gain that last 40%? I think so, the Oni said, rubbing the back of his head. We don't know what's on that side since Master kinda pushed things. So, anything could happen. Okay, so Naruto would have to train hard to use it somehow. So, why did you come out, Sage-kun? Yaga asked. Not to say it hasn't been pleasant to meet you, but how could Satoru release you? Are you not bonded with Naruto? I am, but it because Master's power sort of overcharged me, the Oni explained. It's gonna happen as he gets a hold of it. I'm gonna get bigger and stronger, the boy said with his arms up in cheers before he began to wave about like a leaf. Satoru and Geto joined in without even thinking about it while Yaga facepalmed. Yep, these were his students, alright. NRK. The following day, now sitting in the Uzumaki home's backyard, underneath a curtain, Satoru started laughing as Rico flopped around and down. Damn it! The girl whined, head dropping, her tail large foxtails going limp. It's fine, Rico, Yudahime said with a small smile, coming over and brushing the girl's fur from her forehead. You're learning. This isn't exactly something we thought you could do, she said with a nervous smile as the fox's head raised. Yes, Rico the kitsune raised her head, her size that of a small car's and her fur black with a slight sheen to it. With a new golden Magatama necklace around her neck, the kitsune girl looked annoyed with herself. So, this is new, Geto said with a look of disbelief. As she's a fox. Yep, Shoko said with a grin. Turns out, there's something to Naruto's power you might not know about. Let me guess, it has a vitality-enhancing element? Huh! Shoko gawked as he rubbed the back of his head. We learned something interesting yesterday. Trust me, it's gonna be good to put together everything we all learned. After watching Rico try her best for another half an hour, the group came together to sit by the pouting kitsune. Goh. I'm so bad at this. The girl whined, sulking on her side. Why can't we just go back to learning normal cursed energy stuff? I kinda had a knack for it. Because too much build-up makes you transform, Rico-chan, Yudahime said as Yaga, Satoru, and Geto shot her a look. When Rico tries to push her limits, this happens, she told them as the girl groaned, Kawa rubbing her nape. It's fine, it's only been 2 weeks, Rico, the caretaker said with a smile. You're still new to all of this. Ugh, maybe Naruto could turn into a giant fox. I wouldn't doubt it, the big fox said flatly as Satoru started laughing again. Well, Kurama did say that he might have some extra appendages due to the amount of positive energy in his body. Deadass? Satoru asked as he abruptly stopped laughing. Well, I mean, it seems controllable if you're an example, he smirked as she grumbled. Fox parts? Yudahime asked with a shine in her eyes, Rico shooting her a flat look. And not to say it'd be good, it's just. She tried to defend herself, Kushina chuckling nervously at the idea. Oh boy, she said. Well, maybe it'll be unnoticeable. Minato smiled kindly at her, and she slumped. Of course not. Why did I ask? There's hope in all our hearts, he said. So, what is Rico capable of? Yaga asked with a raised brow at the now literal fox girl. And are we sure this is controllable? Well, from what we've tested so far, Yudahime began. Even in her more humanoid form, she's got enhanced physical skills and senses, she said kindly to the huffing fox gal. Still, she's not used to walking on all fours yet. Rico can conjure cursed energy, Kurwa said with a smile. But she's still new to all of it, and she can't stop it from immediately going all out. That's how we found out about this situation, she added, patting Rico's head. When she's pushing her output to the maximum, Rico's form undergoes a transformation. Satoru smirked, crouching to the girl's head level. Is it full on? Or is it partial outside of the tail and ears? He chuckled as she huffed. I don't know, I can't control my cursed energy that well, yet, she pouted, somehow doing it well despite her vulpine state. Is it supposed to be so hard? For you uncultured individuals, he began as she rolled her eyes. Yes. For blessed beings like myself? Nope, bite me. Nah, that's more in your doghouse, now. The look on her face had him cackling. The sheer amount of offended Rico felt wasn't to be underestimated. Yeah, no, I am not a fan of you, she said with a dropped jaw as Shoko snickered. Ignore him, he's an idiot, she said with a smirk. NRK. 2 weeks later. 2 more weeks passed so easily that it almost felt unreal. Mostly because there, at noon, in Naruto's room, he awoke, with a hilarious appendage. The boy sat up, heard Satoru's laughter, and groaned before laying back down. God damn it, he groaned as he felt the feeling of something on his rear end. Why? Naruto jumped to his feet before rearing for the thing behind him. The laughter around him grew as he felt what had to be a monkey's tail and hit his knees in horror. Oh no, my life is over, he said like it really was, getting picked up and hugged by his laughing mother. What did I do to deserve this? Naruto wondered to the world at large. Satoru and Geto rolled along with Rico in laughter. Kurwa and Yutaheim wore looks of wonder and adoration. Shoko and Yaga took pictures. His parents just chuckled a bit as he scrunched in on himself. Damn it. 5 minutes of laughter later, Naruto sat between his grinning parents while the others just looked slightly amused. Satoru was just taking pictures even now. Oh my god, this is great, the Gojo clan had said with a look of euphoria. I didn't think life got this good. Can we just seal him away? For like, 100 years? Naruto asked flatly, long tail curling into a question mark he groaned more at. Why is it so bendy? It's fine, Yutaheim said with the brightest of smiles that Naruto's eyebrow twitched at. Nei-chan, you're so obvious. That's neither here nor there. Well, how are you? Yutaheim wanted to just cuddle the pouting monkey boy until she couldn't anymore. God, he was so cute. Ignoring all the laughing, Naruto aimed that particular jab at his grinning cousin. Great, like I had the best kind of sleep. Hee, it's probably all the positive energy in you. Shoko grinned as Naruto shot her an oldish look. God, you're such an icon now. I wish I liked what you meant by that but I don't. It's fine, she snickered some more. So, there's a lot to inform you about. NRK. They stared in fascination as Naruto went through his 5th tray of food like it was normal. Ha, he let out a sigh of relief as wiping his mouth with a napkin. Thanks, Naruto said with a nervous laugh. God, I was super hungry. Where does it all go? Shoko asked in disbelief as Geto snorted. That's not fair. Do you know how many? Easy, her fellow brunette snickered. God, that joke is not appropriate. For now, he's a growing monkey boy, Geto grinned as Naruto rolled his eyes. You're a young man better? Easily. God, Naruto looked back at his tail that curled on command. I have no idea how I'm doing this, he said. The tail came around and curled into a spiral before uncurling and adjusting his kimono's collar. Yutaheim was both squealing and sweat dropping. Ahihi, I guess you're a natural. I'm sure it comes and goes. So, with everything you told me, after that murder show? Rico asked in disbelief as Kurwa smiled, ignoring that. Anyway, after everything you told me, I guess I'm in for once this gets out, Naruto said without missing a beat. Well, it might be put awayable. He glowed gold for a couple seconds before the tail poofed away, much to his relief. Rico's head hit the table as Satoru started laughing again. Yutaheim raised a brow at the calm-looking boy. So much easier. Naruto-kun, that was amazing. How? She asked him, looking surprised and yet intrigued. And could you help Rico with her own transformation? Sure, it's my responsibility as is, Naruto said with a shrug as Rico's head came up with a look of relief. Hee though, I'm guessing I have some meetings to deal with, first. Take the day to reorganize yourself, Yaga said with a nod as Naruto sighed in relief. Besides, you may need to mind your control for a bit more lest it come out at the worst moment. Gotcha, Yaga-sensei. NRK. Naruto wore a sad look as he sat in front of the tombstone, sighing a good bit. Goddamn it, he said with a grimace. I wasn't strong enough to stop this. The blonde knew he couldn't just beat himself up about it. Mind you, he couldn't have planned for the drawback for his powers after forcing it. Hell, he wasn't sure what the drawback was yet, but he knew he'd be reeling for a good bit. Well, Toji-sensei, I guess you were right, in a way, Naruto said with another sigh. I didn't die even by you, too bad it came with the cost of your life. Watching the boy recollect by the tombstone, the others truly were surprised by how solemn he was. He must have been training him for a while, Satoru said, shades on but his eyebrows twitching a bit. Oh God, are these not enough anymore? He muttered, taking off his glasses with a frown. It's kinda surreal considering the history of the two clans, Shoko said with a somber look at the blonde's back. A Gojo and Zenin, either of them had issues with one another despite one's profession even. That says either a lot about them or about the old blood in your families, she said to Satoru who hummed. It's both, Geto stepped in, a hand on Satoru's shoulder while Kushina nodded. The elders would never give in to making their clan members hate us and vice versa about our own, the female Gojo said. Hate's a vicious cycle that doesn't even make sense half the time. We live in one of those many times. It's unfortunate, Yudahime said with a small frown. Considering everything, that man really did care about Naruto. Even with knowing there was probably a humongous price on the boy's head, with the boy unprotected and at his mercy, Toji Fushiguro had been fine to leave him be. He ensured their mission became a success in some twisted fashion. How the world works sometimes would forever elude her. Still, he left Naruto a lot, didn't he? Rico asked. He must have gotten paid for downing me, and he already had it written down. Probably not just for Naru, Satoru said, confusing them. Satoru, Yaga said. His son's Megumi Fushiguro. He was originally gonna pass him on to the Zenin clan a bit back, remember? The clan had told them, getting wincing expressions for his troubles. But he told me to do as Naruto would when he got both the tool and the note. He really put his trust in Naruto. The boy in question had just opened up the paper on the baton before squeezing the middle of the cursed tool tightly. They were all surprised to see that it extended into a staff. Wait, isn't that the Ryubang? Minato blinked in surprise. Where did he? Toji must have got that as a gift, geez, Kushina said in surprise. That's one of the most valuable cursed tools known to man. Why? What's so special about it? Rico asked. It's the same one from the journey to the west, Satoru told her as she gawked while Kurwa looked surprised. Yep, it's an old one. Naruto twisted its shaft, and the end of the extending pole expanded, making it a hammer. I don't remember that from Journey to the West, the fox girl grumbled. I mean, obviously, it's not gonna be a one-to-one, Geto explained. But a lot of cursed tools from the days of Tengen-sama's past were, at one point, considered to be legendary weapons. Hell, I'd bet that Sun Wukong was probably a cursed spirit someone tamed and took on a journey to the west, he chuckled. Life has a way of being odder, and yet less odd than you think. Huh. Naruto tapped the weapon's pommel against the ground twice, the simple taps throwing up wind. All right, he whispered to the grave, holding up a half-prayer as he bowed a bit. I'll see you tomorrow, Naruto said as the wind ruffled his hair back, the sound of chuckling leaving with it. Annoying old man, he turned away from the grave before walking back to the others. There's something we have to do after meeting with the superiors. NRK. One day later, Naruto adjusted his orange shiitake as his legs moved in his Jujutsu high uniform pants, some black ninja sandals on his feet. Walking with him were the trio from last time, Satoru, though, now bearing a black blindfold instead of his usual sunglasses. We sadly don't know what they'll want from you, Yaga said as they stood before the chamber door. So, prepare for anything. Gotcha, Naruto nodded, adjusting his shiitage's collar, a small toad shikigami sitting within it. Let's do this. They walked through the door, doing as the trio had done last time. Walk past the candles, stop by all the superiors, and bow. Welcome, Naruto Uzumaki, came the voice of one of the screens. You seem to have been away for a time. I barely woke up, sir, Naruto said with a shrug. I didn't plan on being knocked out. Be that as it may, you seem to be important to someone, Toji-sensei. They meant but Naruto wouldn't give himself away. Who? Naobito Zenin, the blonde blinked. He desires to meet you and we'd like to know any information from your mission to now, that you remember. Naruto blinked again before shrugging. He retold the details of the mission from his memory, obviously keeping out specific details but giving basically all of it. By the end, there was murmuring all about. I see, one of the old biddies said. And what do you think of Tengen-sama's situation? The four males were confused. What? I'll never be able to accept we lost life in the end of it all, Naruto said, eyes closed in thought. I think that if things had gone well, there should have been a way to allow Tengen-sama or whoever she will be by that point to be able to live a normal life. That's about what I expected of a child. There's no greater honor, boy. More of such things were passed about as Satoru frowned a bit, combing his hands through his hair. What annoying old bastards, he thought, eyes going to Naruto and his calm expression. What will you do? Geto thought the same. they're likely still going to be treating him like a child, which, sadly, wasn't the worst thing that could happen. But respect's a long way from here. Yaga prepared to clear his throat, but Naruto stepped forward without prompting, and then opened his eyes. The area was soon covered in pressure. It was instant, it didn't last, it wasn't really noteworthy to all who had combat experience. But it gained their attention. That's all he needed. Just because I'm a child doesn't automatically make whatever you think is right, he said simply and fully, getting an offended air from the group of superiors. You cared so little about a person's life you're supposed to be protecting, that you call honor as if Amanaisen would have chosen to do this. She wasn't involved, she wasn't a sorcerer, she was just a civilian, and you all seem so happy to just ignore the person you're supposed to protect? Are you actually sorcerers? Insolence! A shout echoed out the room. Stand down. No. A screen began to emanate cursed energy, a sickening pressure beginning to drown the room. Naruto stepped closer to that person without hesitation before standing right in front of it. Things change, he said without remorse, leaning forward in a taunting manner. Change. Actually live the world you seem to think you have a hand in protecting. Guess what? Naruto grinned as Satoru snickered. You don't, but I do. There was sputtering as the cursed energy dropped, and was replaced by disbelief. I'm well aware you've all been around for probably thousands of years, Naruto joked. Geto facepalmed, but a grin formed. Damn kid. But things change, your clans have, the world has, tradition has, the blonde continued. Just because things were one way in the past doesn't mean they work anymore. Right now, the star plasma vessel was just a teenage girl we plucked off the side of the street. This person isn't going to be the same as Tengen was. It's a merger, isn't it? Do you honestly think Tengen at that point is gonna be the same person? I can bet each of you have noticed at least one small change in him since he was just a normal sorcerer, that he was even the slightest bit different from the stories, tales, scrolls, and books you all would have studied to try to understand him. There were murmurs about as the blonde turned around and walked back to his place at the center of the room before facing them all. When the time comes and things change, you guys are gonna be playing catch-up, Naruto said simply. We, the Jujutsu High Sorcerers, won't, he grinned as Yaga hummed softly. We're going to keep changing because we understand how the world is going to change. We're not the people of Heian, the merchants of Edo, or even the citizens of Japan 30 years ago. We'll accomplish our missions using what comes our way, whether it's an inherited technique, a new skill, a new tool, anything. What about you? What are you going to do when change hits us like a train? There was more silence that was followed by murmurs. When clan heads are like this guy, he gestured to the grinning Satoru. What exactly do you plan to do? That got more worried emotions around the room, Yaga running his hand down his face as Geto smiled pleasantly. He just weaponized Satoru as a person, who knew the next generation were so wicked? Humph, there was a huff and grimace. Your insubordination mars your points. A bit, but you wouldn't have considered them without it, Naruto said simply. Right, you're dismissed. All of you, leave our chambers. The boy and the three bowed one last time before leaving, the blonde boy walking to the front of it all with a calm smile on his face. Anarchy. Phew, that went well, Naruto said with a bit of a laugh before Yurihime began to stretch his cheeks. Well? She nearly shrieked as Kushina chuckled in the background with Minato and Satoru. Young man! You were seconds away from being executed. MIT Mazam mad, Naruto said as she kept on pulling on his cheeks. Yurihime let out rapid breaths before letting out one last long one, letting his cheeks whap back together. Ow, he groaned as Geto laughed a bit. I had a decent idea of what I was doing. A decent idea? He jumped back while holding his cheeks. Yurihime stomped over and grabbed him. She screamed into the boy's stomach like he was a throw pillow, the boy looking so confused. She put him back down and walked to the side of the room where some tea sat. Ha, time for some tea. I owe her another apology, Naruto said, but he took several large steps towards the grinning Satoru. But not right now, obviously, he added on just as quickly. Kushina smirked at him. You should know better than anyone that making a lady angry is bad for your health. Not everyone can have their instant panic button like Satoru, she said as the young man in question gasped. You think I'd hide from her? He said, offended. Excuse me? Yurihime's eyebrow began to twitch. Gojo. Come on, it's all peace vibes, Zach. He began to say before finding a hot tea bag thrown into his mouth. Watching the strongest spit out the tea bag and start gagging made Naruto's day a lot better. NRK. The following morning, Naruto and Satoru prepared to leave under the watchful eye of Yudahime. Just don't get into more trouble, please, she asked Naruto. I can't plan for him, she said, pointing at Satoru. So, be the voice of reason he clearly needs. Humph, the young man pouted and she shot him a look. It's fine, I promise. We're just gonna go and see about this address, Satoru said with a cupped chin. I shall return, my L. She walked away before he could even finish, leaving the man wheezing. Let's get going, Romeo, we're burning daylight, Naruto said with a grin, dressed as he was the day before when he met the superiors but with a new white and orange cloak over his shoulders, the article of clothing folded multiple times at the bottom for growth. Alright, let's do this. Let's do this, the man self-cheered as Naruto followed behind him. They had a Megumi to find. NRK. A day later, their travel had taken some time, the two finding themselves in places they weren't familiar with, and then they had to catch their rides and follow Toji's clues. Still, one hotel room and G-maps later, and they were there, just in time to catch a certain kid as he got home in a rather crappy living area. He was around Naruto's age if not a bit taller with fair skin, pale green eyes, oddly long eyelashes, and spiky dark blue hair. Wearing a black t-shirt, black shorts, shoes, and a backpack, he shot the two a look. Hiya, you're Megumi-kun, yeah? Satoru said as his face twitched. Who are you and why's your face like that? The boy Megumi asked. Naruto facepalmed at Satoru's look of utter annoyance before stepping forward. Sorry, ignore him, he's seeing a ghost, Naruto said quickly, the boy looking at him oddly. Is your hair dyed? Huh. Oh, this? The blonde chuckled, pulling on his single white strand. Nope, I'm actually related to this guy, he gestured to the still oddly faced Satoru. Look, okay, there's a lot we'd like to actually talk to you about if you don't mind, Megumi! Came a call from above, the two boys looking up to see a girl leaning out over a rusty-looking metal balcony. She was a bit older than Megumi, but younger than Naruto, with fair skin, long dark brown hair with two long bangs, and brown eyes. Wearing a cream-colored blouse, a long black skirt with some patches in it, and some slippers, she grinned down at him. Is that a friend from school? She gasped before running into their apartment. One, she opened the stairwell door with a big grin. Minute! She cheered with a bright expression that Naruto blinked before chuckling at. You don't dye your hair, do you? Nope, all genetic down to this bit, Naruto grinned again. Goodness, the world really is full of so many kinds of people. They wanted to talk to us. I guess about Dad? Megumi said unsurely, looking at the surprised Naruto. The slightly older boy smiled a sad smile, something that surprised the younger male, but kept him a bit transfixed. Yeah, I do. Sitting in a living room that was honestly well taken care of, sitting on a clean but patchy couch, Naruto nodded to the two. So, well, your dad's not just a normal person, Naruto began as the two sat in little plastic chairs in front of him, and the now normal-faced Satoru. What did I miss? The man asked like he'd snapped out of a daze. Ignore him, that's what most of us do. Tsumiki Fushiguro, she'd introduced herself, grinned a bit at that while Megumi stared at the blonde in confusion. How can he look so sad but be happy? Megumi wasn't sure what to make of this other kid in front of him. He never hung around with other kids at school, he didn't have time, and he never really played with the kids in their rundown complex. But something about this kid in front of him made him think he was so mature. So different compared to their mother and father. Please, continued Tsumiki said with a giggle. Okay, so, it's like this, Satoru intercepted easily as Naruto rolled his eyes. Tell me, you two, what do you know about the world? He asked cryptically. Have you guys seen any weird things in the city before? Naruto clarified. Think of it like, guys like this one, the boy pulled out his Oni talisman. A single command brought Sage out, surprising the two children. What? They said in surprise, staring at Sage as he crossed his arms with a sagely nod. Satoru took all of 2 seconds to realize something. Why you control those things in the plaza? Megumi asked the blonde who blinked before shaking his head. Wait, you can see them, Megumi? Tsumaki asked, surprising Naruto. Wait, Tsumaki-chan, can't you see Sage? He asked her, the girl blushing a bit but looking at the Oni child. I can see this guy. His name's Sage? She asked, looking surprised. I didn't know Megumi had seen them before. The boy flinched, looking a bit guilty, the picture coming together for both Gojos. You didn't want her to know, did you? Naruto asked with a sheepish expression. Sorry, he apologized, bowing to the boy who looked surprised but sighed. Megumi, Tsumaki said in concern. You never worried about them, Megumi began. I figured you couldn't see them, so I never said anything. I would have sounded like a crazy person. Well, you're not, Satoru said with a smile as the two looked at him. And I have a feeling Tsumaki-chan is feeling the same way. He grinned as Megumi looked at his sister in surprise. Tsumaki blushed, fiddling with her skirt. I didn't want to worry you, she said slowly. I thought you couldn't see them, so I just acted like I couldn't. Hee. Naruto grinned and the siblings looked at him. I can tell, you guys care about each other a lot. You didn't want to burden the other with the idea of actual monsters. That's kind of you, both of you, he praised as they blushed, looking flustered. So, the thing is, Toji, your pops, was my master since I was 4. He went on to explain their training, the world of Jujutsu, the 2 schools, and the rest of the basics of their side of the world. By the 30-minute mark, the two stared at him in surprise once they saw his tale. Jujutsu, Tsumaki said slowly. Megumi, do you get it? Yeah, the boy said, head down in thought. So, that's why I saw Dad again? His head came up so he could address the surprised Naruto. What? Dad used to not be home a lot, the other boy explained. Especially when my mom wasn't around anymore. You guys are step-siblings, Satoru understood, the two nodding. After Mom died, he was nearly gone all the time, Megumi continued. But then he came home about a year or so ago, he said, looking Naruto in the eyes. And maybe that was because of you? I don't think he really understood what he was doing, but we never seen him in so long, so we just welcomed him home. Dad looked so weird about it, Tsumaki said with a small somber smile. He was always so loud and full of energy, but this time. She smiled a bit brighter. He spent the whole week with us, talking to us about stuff in school. It was so cool, she said with bright eyes as Megumi nodded. He, came by maybe 3 more times and did the same thing, but we never saw him after that. Naruto grimaced at that. Didn't he disappear with Tsumaki's mom? Megumi asked Naruto, who rubbed the back of his head. He didn't? No, he's dead, Satoru said simply and seriously. The 2 kids stopped and stared at him, Naruto flinching at the sheer bluntness of his cousin but knew he just beat around the bush. The 2 kids swallowed, processing the information before Naruto got up and pulled out a piece of paper. He never forgot you two, you know, the blonde said softly as he handed it to them. He gave it to me along with a sort of master-to-student present. I'm sure, among all else, he meant for this to go to you too. He let them take the paper and read the information. A bank account? Tsumaki said, the girl biting her lip. Megumi blinked, looking down at his shaking fist, surprised. He'd always thought of his father like a stranger. The man's recent year-long return hadn't changed that much about that, so why did he feel so sad? I don't know your living situation in full, but I can guess, Naruto said simply with determined eyes. And if you guys want, would you guys want to stay here or come with me? He asked them as Satoru whistled. I'd expected it, somewhat, he said to his cousin who grinned, the siblings looking at him in shock. I had guessed it'd be a last resort, but now, knowing the mom ain't around, this would be something you'd do without hesitation. Of course, Naruto said before focusing back on the siblings. I live in Kyoto with my parents. You guys would probably be dealing with some tough situations even with my family, but we can work together and do our best, he told them with clear eyes. In a way, as his student, you guys are my responsibility, too, Naruto grinned. Megumi's eyes widened at the sight of that grin. He wanted to know about it, that grin. How could someone be sad but have such a grin? If we go, what will happen to Tsumaki? He asked, hands still shaky but eyes absolute. Will she be happy with this kid? Definitely. Satoru grinned a bit, and Megumi shot him a flat look. Hey, now, grins are also my speciality. Not really, the boy muttered, but Satoru held his heart as if shot, Tsumaki giggling a bit at his dramatics. Then, please, help us, Megumi said to the two. I want to make sure Nei-chan is happy. I know she'll be happier in a full home. Sheesh, already considering who her next husband will be. Huh? Tsumaki burned bright red as Megumi rubbed the back of his head. I never said that. He pouted a bit as Naruto chuckled nervously. But if she wants, and Megumi, I'm just thinking of you, Nei-chan. Watching the girl fumble and fluster in embarrassment had Naruto chuckling. Well, if you guys are fine with it, how about you get the things you want to keep and come with us to our hotel room? Naruto asked. If you want, we can wait and tell your school and stuff that you'll be moving out. Megumi considered the boy's questions with a hum as his sister burned up. Alright, it's only polite, he said. Usually, kids your age would love to be out of school. Satoru chuckled before nearly tilting sideways at Megumi's response. But school's fun. Why, you are a first grader, right? NRK. A week later, they sat on the train heading back to Tokyo Jujutsu High. The Fushiguro siblings stared out the train windows at their shrinking in the distance old city. We're really leaving, the boy said slowly, eyes growing a bit hazy as he just stared at it. A hug from his side had his sister pressing the side of her head to his, the boy relaxing almost instantly while biting his lip. Naruto simply crossed his arms as he shot the siblings an understanding smile, while Satoru leaned back in his seat. You're really trying to take on the Zenin clan, I'm noticing, the older Gojo said as Naruto blinked before humming. Yeah, in a way, call it looking out for my belated mentor, Naruto began with a determined gaze out the window. The system can't change with people stuck in the old ways. Tradition gives us our foundation, I won't deny that, but we need more. We need to experience life and make our own decisions to become the person we're meant to be. I just hope I'm not running headlong into trouble with those around me getting dragged or dragged in. Humph, you're not, and don't forget, most of us are older than you brat, Satoru said, ruffling his cousin's hair, eliciting a smirk out of Naruto. You're right in that the new generation has to change things, but don't forget, all us old dogs can learn new tricks. We just need the right stimuli. You're 18. Your point? They laughed a bit at that, chatting about the little things and or his future training. NRK, Jujutsu High. They made it to the end of the giant torii gates, Sage putting the Fushiguro siblings down with a nod towards them. Thank you, Sage. Tsumaki smiled brightly as the shikigami shot her a thumbs up. No problem, Master's always happy to find reasons to bring me out. Thanks fair that, the Oni said as Megumi stared at him. I think I can do something like you, the boy said. I just remembered, Megumi told Naruto, who blinked while Satoru cupped his chin with a small smile. Hold on there, Megakuen, you may want to wait, Satoru said, confusing the boy. The thing is, there are eyes all over, we'll want to do this in private, he finished, patting both siblings on the back. Still, welcome to Tokyo Jujutsu High School. This is the place where sorcerers are made. You spoke about something like that, Tsumaki said as the five of them began to walk. And Megumi wants to be one, she added as her brother's head fell. The world's dangerous, Tsumaki-chan, Megumi, Naruto said seriously. It's not wrong for him to want to become strong to protect you. It's an amazing reason to want to be a sorcerer. Megumi considered him. Naruto-san? Yeah? Why do you want to be a sorcerer? Naruto closed his eyes as they walked, Sage pulling the siblings' luggage with ease. I want to do a lot of things, honestly, Naruto said, eyes opening to look up at the sky. I want to give back to the people who gave me something precious. I want to change the system of the jujutsu world. It's old, it's tradition-based, and it needs to be changed for the better so we can understand and accept everyone equally for who they are, and what they want to be, and lastly, I want to make Toji-sensei proud. They stopped for a moment. Dad must have had a big effect on you, Tsumaki whispered. Probably not in the way you think, the blonde said. I found him once stalking me. They sweat dropped as Satoru cackled. And you'll want to know the first thing I thought about. What? Megumi asked. I mean, a big scary guy was stalking you. Naruto snickered. Oh yeah, your dad was huge. He is. Tsumaki grinned. Heh. And well, the first thing I thought was to go and see what's up, the blonde said with a sly grin. Man, you should have saw his face. He was not expecting me to find him so easily. I guess Dad was really good at hiding. Oh, he is, Satoru said with a shaky grin. Very good, God help me. Don't mind him, he just got kinda spooked, Naruto said casually. If we'll call that spooking, alright? Following that, we spoke a lot about just life and I told him what was up with me. He explained his and Toji's condition, the siblings looking surprised. So, how can you summon Sage? Megumi asked, looking at the Oni spirit. Sage's talisman is a bit special. That was before I got something different, the blonde said quietly. I'll tell you when we get somewhere private. They walked in companionable silence after that, the Gojo duo taking the kids to dormitories. When they arrived, they found a familiar woman standing there. Kurwa smiled at the two children, crouching down to their level while smoothing out her long skirt, a baggy black long-sleeve top over her torso. Satoru raised a brow. Didn't expect to see you here, Kurwa, he said as Naruto nodded. Sup, Kurwane, he said before turning to Megumi and Sumiki. This is Misato Kurwa, she's the older sister-mother figure to a friend of ours. Kurwa blushed but smiled brightly all the same. In a sad way, she and a girl named Rico are kinda like you too. Are really? Sumiki asked and the older woman smiled sadly. I don't suppose your family's not around anymore, right? The woman asked softly and the girl's head fell a bit as she nodded. Oh dear, Kurwa lifted her chin with a smile. I know some things aren't. They'll never be the same, things change. But I know you both can find people who will accept you, that I can promise, she grinned. Like Naruto-kun, he's a known troublemaker. Guilty as charged, Naruto said proudly as Megumi raised a brow at him. So, this is where we start, Megumi, he told him. Will she make me a sorcerer? The boy asked. Nope, that'll be you to Naruto began to say. But someone surprising beat him to the punch. Nah, that's gonna be me, Satoru said with a smile, crouching down to the kid's level. Likely me and Neru, right here. I'm something of a big deal around here. Megumi-kun, I'm called one of the strongest. Naruto rolled his eyes with a chuckle. So, would you like me to train ya? The boy blinked at him in surprise, eyes going to the chatting Tsumiki who was talking at length with Kurwa. Can I make sure sis is never sad? He asked. Nope, the boy's jaw dropped. No, listen, there's probably something you'll need to understand about people like us, your dad, and I guess soldiers, Satoru whispered. Sometimes there's no way to make even ourselves always happy. Naruto here really cared about your dad, his master, but things got out of hand. Megumi's head turned to see that smile, the sad one. Another piece fell into place of a 1,000-piece puzzle. But then why? If you aren't happy all the time. Megumi wondered. Megumi, sad as it might sound, no one's happy all the time, Naruto told the other boy with that same smile from before but a bit lighter. It's a part of life, like losing a pet, or even breaking a toy. But we're going to keep on trying to be happy. He chuckled at the boy's look of confusion. Because the whole world's full of stuff that can make you happy. Or maybe even right here at Jujutsu High. People aren't happy all the time, but when they are happy, those unhappy times are something you're willing to deal with. The boy looked so confused, but inspired, oddly enough. I don't really get it, he admitted. But if that's true, I'd like to do it for Nei-chan. He like Neri here said, you got the right motivation for it, Satoru said. Anarche. The six sat in the cafeteria, the group eating some brunch. So, Tsumiki-chan doesn't want to be a sorcerer, that's fine, Kurwa said as the girl blushed while nodding. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to be on this side of our life. To step into the jujutsu world isn't something you can easily step away from. There are trials and battles you'll fight that might push you to your limits. That's not meant for everyone. And Megumin's gonna be working with us. Satoru grinned as Megumi blushed while mumbling. You gotta do your best to keep up, Megakun. Nair is essentially the leading charge of your generation. That's a high bar to follow. Naruto blushed a bit while he laughed. Take your time to get strong. There are risks you'll have to take to get stronger, but there's nothing wrong with us going at our own pace. Whether it's faster or slower, you'll find your way to it, Megumi. You just need to keep on focusing. The younger boy nodded, looking at the blonde with confusion. Anarche. The first thing they did after eating was go to a small dojo. Along the way, Geto and one other young woman arrived. She stared at the two boys with a look of adoration the moment they met. Naruto chuckled nervously. Hey, Mei, He was up in another woman's arms almost on sight, the blonde grumbling about the situation. Satoru smirked as Kurwa tilted her head. I don't believe we've met, she said to him, and he grinned before throwing out his hands in a showy gesture as Mei smirked. Welcome to the Jujutsu world's #1 opportunist, Mei, he declared with a laugh. Mei was an above-average height young woman with fair skin, brown eyes, and long pale blue hair set in a ponytail with 2 long bangs at the front. Wearing a black, thick-looking, collared dress with a black belt, sturdy-looking dark brown boots, and a white tie, this Jujutsu high student grinned as she held on to Naruto like a stuffed bear. The blonde just looked resigned to his fate. I thought you were on a mission vacation combo? Naruto asked weakly as Sumiki giggled while Megumi blinked in complete confusion. Why yeah, it's been almost 2 months, Naruto. She squealed, hugging the boy some more. God, I can't wait to have a little brother boy like you. That's not worrying or anything. Hey, come on, Mei. Satoru grinned, standing in some baggy black clothes. We're supposed to be training, not cuddling. Geto snickered in a white shirt and some baggy dark blue shorts. I don't think she'd be against doing both. I wouldn't, the young woman grinned as Sage sat snugly in her arms. Why Alright, Megumi, let's do this, Naruto said as he led the boy to the center of their tatami-matted floors, wearing an orange muscle shirt and black shorts. So, you said your technique's like Sage? Geto blinked. Learning under pressure, he rationalized like a champion. Mei blinked once more before looking at the blinking Oni child. I'm kinda alright with this, she seemed to realize, stuffing her face into the child's hair. He smells like oranges. Satoru didn't even give that situation the attention it clearly needed. Alright boys and girls, let's do this. Megumin is a special boy that most of you will be able to figure out in a couple seconds, he declared, blindfold resting around his neck and his hands combing through his hair. Mei, I have some styling gel, we'll pick something you like, she picked up in an instant with a grin. And 5,000 yen. Damn it woman, I'm sure there are barbers cheaper than that. I like it. Satoru said before immediately switching gears. It's fine. 6,000 yen. Oh, he knows me so well, unfortunately. Now Megumi raised a brow, standing in front of Naruto in a long-sleeved black top and black sweatpants. Alright, the reserved boy said, forming a barking dog shadow puppet gesture. I have to do stuff like this, Megumi told Naruto. Divine dogs. The shadows below the boy contorted before out came a pair of dogs, one white, one black, both looking more like wolves than dogs with 3 dots on each of their foreheads in complementary colors of white, for the black dog, and black, for the white dog. Both wolf shikigami bore yellow scaro with black eyes, their sizes, they'd likely be threatening, one day. The 2 pups looked at Naruto curiously as Kurwa and Mei adored them. The blonde chuckled before kneeling to their level, the animals approaching him curiously before the white one scaled him to sit on his head with a look of tranquility on its face. The black pup followed suit, using Megumi as his tower. Needless to say, photos were taken so quickly, one would have thought the sun was flashing the boys personally. Kurwa trembled in euphoria, the pictures quickly sent to Rico. Her phone rang. Oh my God! We're coming, right now! In seconds, Kushina was squealing as she rubbed cheeks with the white dog while Rico did the same for the black one. Megumi rubbed the back of his head as Naruto chuckled a bit. Yeah, adults are weird, trust me, it never goes away, the blonde said. Sage performed a palm thrust that gently knocked the white pup back while the black one laid on the ground with swirls in his eyes. It's like a Pokemon battle, Sumiki whispered with big ol' eyes as Minato chuckled, the 2 and the others sitting on the sidelines of the training session. See, can I have a shikigami J just to keep? Well, they're not pets, Minato said as the girl pouted. But in a different vein, knowing how to protect yourself would also be nice. A shikigami is a really low-maintenance spirit to keep around just in case. And Nei-chan can do that, can't she? Megumi asked as he hurried over to pick up his divine dogs. Well, it'd depend, Yudahime said. Because if she were to be given a shikigami, Sumiki-chan needs to know some of the basics. Maybe not enough to get her into trouble, I suppose. I'll handle the background stuff, Satoru said with a big grin as Yudahime shot him a look of confusion. My students are in need of protection, Haim-chan. Her eyebrow twitched as Kushina and Mei giggled off to the side. Is that so? Yep, don't act rashly in front of the children who weren't Naruto. But it was so hard to not just attack Satoru right then and there. Naruto, how'd you make yours so tough? Megumi asked the older boy as Sage flexed. He's also got so big, he said, looking up a bit at the shikigami. Sage and me are a bit different when it comes to shikigami and Master, Naruto said. Yep, Sage said. Master's got a whole different kinda crazy going on with him. Really? Megumi asked. How do you get used to it if it's different? He turned the question to Naruto. I just gotta go with the flow and work with it. Satoru, Mei's smile froze on her face. Why is that shikigami able to speak? What does he mean by Naru being a different kind of crazy? Is that last one rhetorical? The blindfolded man asked. Satoru, look, there's a bit of something going on with Naru right now, from a month or so back. We figured out what was going on with his body. Mei looked surprised. Yeah, Naruto's heavenly restriction isn't normal, not in the least. Geto smiled as the young woman tilted her head. He explained the situation without remorse, the bits and pieces necessary for understanding all told in an organic and dramatic manner. By the end of it all, Mei's eyebrow twitched rapidly while Geto and Satoru began to laugh. I see, she said slowly, Shoko coming into the area with Yaga. Why is my life getting so odd all of a sudden? Hey Mei, Shoko called out as she and their principal-to-be came over before sitting down on her side. So, is this that Megumi boy? Then she saw the boy's divine dogs and wheezed as Satoru grinned. Yep, turns out, Toji's a class act when it comes to children, he said. He has the 10 Shadows technique, the most prized cursed technique of the Zenin clan. And you have him, here? Right now? And you and Naru are gonna. Yep, I don't like where this is going, Yaga said with a groan. First what he did with the superiors and now Satoru's causing mischief. Huh? Wait, who? Mei asked before Yaga pointed at Naruto. Why is he getting into trouble? She asked before slowly looking at Satoru. I don't cause all his problems, just a couple of them, he said before reconsidering some things. Yes, we do know you're a problem. Geto smirked as his friends grinned nervously. Back with Naruto and Megumi, the two boys nodded to something before separating again. Alright, Naruto said to Megumi as the boy set his wolves down at his sides before nodding to the blonde. We'll try this instead, the Uzumaki began as Sage nodded to him. You need to be able to lead your partners properly so Sage is only gonna dodge and block. Your goal is to get a hit on, or grab, him with either the divine dogs or yourself. And myself? The boy looked worried. I don't, how? Megumin. Satoru called out with a raised finger, as the boy blinked at him. You'll likely get to learn a bit more about cursed energy control by trying to catch Sage. You have to devote your entire being to this task. Try your best, aim to be the best. Like me. There it is, Yudahime grumbled as Minato chuckled. He's right though. By making use of his body and shikigami, Megumi-kun can expand his senses and try to tame the weakness of most shikigami users, he said. Weakness? Naruto asked as Megumi nodded in confusion. Pops, what are you on about? Most shikigami users are like wizards, Geto explained with a smile, getting up and summoning a familiar manta ray cursed spirit. Think of it with me as an example. I can fight up close, but if I was a regular shikigami user, I'd just hide on this cursed spirit while attacking from afar. That's another thing, that's most shikigami users' bread and butter. Megumi considered it, looking down at his hands. Alright, he said with determination as Naruto smiled before considering something while looking at Sage. The shikigami caught his eye and nodded, form glowing a soft black before it stopped. Alright, let's try it, the blonde said. Sage jumped in place as Megumi stalked ahead with his shadow companions. We need to box him in, the boy told his dogs who nodded. Shiro, go in. The white pup ran ahead as Sage crossed his arms and waited. By the time the pup reached him, he jumped over it. Kuro! The black puppy came around with a bark before lunging at the Oni. A single raised hand repelled it, Sage nodding while looking calm. Megumi ran at it before trying to tackle it only to find Sage ducking beneath him and sliding behind him. Nice try, the shikigami said as Megumi got up before trying again. He jumped for him, hand out, before Sage slunk around the limb and grabbed it. A second later, Megumi was on the mats below as Sage dodged Kuro and Shiro. The puppies tried to attack, but each headbutt, swipe, or nibble was either palmed away, dodged, and most embarrassingly, avoided with chin scratches. The divine dogs looked defeated in every other way than physically, the adults laughing at the expressive hounds. Megumi rubbed his cheek before getting up and going after the Oni again. Sage slipped around the boy's tackle before smiling as he tried again, and again, and again. Megumi gasped a bit as the shikigami stood ahead of his on all fours form. "Why, you're so fast," he groaned as the shikigami chuckled. "Of course," the shikigami corpse said. "I have a sort of deep body idea on how to use my cursed energy. With Master's positive energy around my core, I can use my life's full potential. You're not even fighting me at my best." Yaga perked up. "Sage-kun, what do you mean?" "Well, you remember our talk, right?" The man nodded. "I can only use that cursed energy stuff, but Master's positive energy does something different." "Oh?" Satoru asked. "How so?" "We know it enhances vitality and stuff." "Right there," that sage said. "Master's power enhances life I barely got, but I can use my body to its fullest," the Oni said as he glowed. "Like this." He punched the air, and a power gust nearly picked Megumi up off the ground, the boy stumbling to his feet just in time. Satoru whistled at that. "Maybe," he considered something. "Its limits, essentially," Minato said as Sage nodded and Yaga cupped his chin. "Likely, Naruto's power enhances like cursed energy, but not so much pure attack power and defense, but as an all-rounder to a lesser degree. While doing so, the positive energy releases the limits on the person who it's directed towards." "Oh, so like the Kaioken," Shoko realized as half the group's sweat dropped. "Hey, I can use a reference too, plus it's just a medically interesting technique even for an anime." "Right," Naruto said as he considered his own hands. "I don't know how long it'll be until I can use my own energy and stuff," he told them, looking down at the weights on his arms and legs. "So I'll just keep training like normal. I mean, hell, it's probably doing something while I do that, I guess." "Honestly?" "Probably a lot," Shoko considered. "You're the home for that energy. You'll likely use it to its best efficiency," she grinned shakily. "God knows how strong you'll be as you get older. Maybe Toji strong if you keep at it," Satoru said with a sweat drop. "I don't use that on me. I still get flashbacks." "No promises, for the sake of my master and blackmail," Naruto said resolutely. How strong was Dad?" Tsuruki asked Satoru, who wore a shaky grin. "Super enhanced gorilla strong," he said. "Whoa, that's pretty strong." Satoru knew that well. "Could I get that strong?" Megumi asked Naruto, who considered his question. "Maybe not physically, but definitely with your power's potential," the blonde grinned. "I actually read a scroll that said a Zenin with your power, a thing called the 10 Shadows technique, could fight a guy like Aniki to a standstill." "Is he that strong?" He looks so skinny. Herc? Satoru wheezed as Geto started laughing along with Rico. Hey. I'm not skinny, this uniform is just good at hiding the temple that is my body. Temple? You look like a plank of wood, Megumi muttered. Yudaheim's smirk had Satoru's eyebrow twitching while Yaga caught that strukaw. The man fake coughed as Shoko broke down in hilarity. "Excuse me, clearing my throat. You son of a..." "Not in front of children," the Miko woman smirked as Kushina chuckled. "Honestly, not like you don't deserve it," Satoru just grumbled. "Go back to your training, your master demands it," he said with a huff and crossed arms. Naruto rolled his eyes. "Come on, Megu, let's do this." Sage, 25%. The Oni nodded, form glowing that black color. "Oh, that's what you're doing," Kurwa realized as the shikigami nodded. "I thought you were bracing your body for possible pain." "Nah, no offense to Meg over, but I'm not worried about him, and his dog's hurting me," the Oni said. "I see. Alright, let's do this." Megumi nodded before preparing to attack. "How do I catch him?" His previous plan hadn't worked, and he knew that the Oni was holding back. But Naruto said just grab him, I don't need to beat him up. Not like he could, but he was just considering a thought. Kuro and Shiro began to prowl the Oni in a circle, the two with their heads down and bodies turned. Then they attacked, lunging like little slow comets that he dodged by ducking down and rolling forward. They landed before going around at the Oni once more, the Oni child blocking, chin scratching, or dodging with ease. Megumi observed it all for a couple seconds before noticing his turn back. Keep him occupied, he pleaded as he slowly snuck up on the distracted shikigami. And got him. He jumped at the shikigami with his arms out, and found himself held up by the back of his top, looking confused. Nice try. Naruto praised him as Megumi grumbled, being put down by the Oni. You're getting it. Your shikigami can think for themselves, they can attack while you do something else. It's something. I still lost, Megumi muttered before getting a hair ruffle for his troubles. You learn from losing most of the time, the blonde said as he pat his back while Sage crossed his arms once more. You're still new to, well, all of this. You're not a fighter yet, you can't use cursed energy. You're not used to working with your shikigami, none of it. Take it for what it is, your starting line. The boy pouted a bit and Naruto snickered. And no laughing. Fine. Good. Now we can work on your other kinds of training. Others? As the two boys began to go through Naruto brand training, Satoru, Geto, and Rico walked over before the five were speaking at length about how Megumi could continue his training. Sometimes I really do wonder what happened to make him so. Yudahime tried to find the words before Kushina smiled. Kind? Mature? The mother said as Yudahime smirked a bit. You might not know it or maybe you did, but it took a back seat to his teasing, the younger woman grumbled. But Satoru adores that boy of mine, probably more than we think at times. The others raised their brows at that, watching as Naruto explained something that had him making swimming motions. Megumi shot him a flat look. Geto looked nervous, Rico paled, and Satoru. He grinned before ruffling Naruto's hair and holding up a finger in consideration that had the other rolling their eyes or obviously insulting him. Naruto simply shot the man finger guns he shot back. God, they're like brothers, Shoko groaned as Minato laughed at that. You know though? Yeah, me and Geto did notice. I guess that mission was really rough on him. I know he told me that we were gonna go get ramen one of these days. All you can eat for Naruto. He knows how much that boy puts away. The parents' eyes grew a bit sad. I get it, I do, Minato said, rubbing the back of his head. He's my first and only child, yet it's like the world changed when we met for the first time. He makes me want to protect him, immensely, but Naruto's also wise beyond his years. Sometimes, I do feel like I missed out on a lot with him, he added. Yeah, in a way, our boy seemed to grow up so easily and quickly, Kushina said. Yet, Naruto's very willing to be childish, he wants to be childish, he enjoys it. I think he also thinks he missed a lot, she added as Yudahime looked at the boy in question patting his shikigami on the shoulder. Then Rico tried to wrestle it before being put on her back. I see. The parents laughed as soon as Naruto did, the boy helping the girl up before giving her pointers and moving back with the others. Sage and Rico went at it before Naruto, Satoru, Geto, and Megumi split up. The cursed spirit user grouping with Megumi while Satoru went with Naruto. Alright, time to teach. Kushina grinned as they all got up before going to their respective tutor circles. How's it going, boys? The woman asked, approaching Naruto with Minato and Shoko while Yaga went towards Rico and Sage with Yudahime, Mei, and Kurwa. Last but not least, Tsumaki grinned as she hurried towards her brother with an excited grin. Well, Naru wants to try and access his positive energy, Satoru said with a grin as Naruto focused sat by a wall and meditated. I'm supposed to watch, he added as he took off his blindfold and did as asked for a second before putting it back on. So you can imagine, we're having fun. I can imagine, Kushina chuckled as Shoko walked over to Naruto before sitting down next to him. Feel anything, Shoko-chan? Yeah, kinda, the young woman said with a hum. He's moving it around in his body, his control's pretty decent. I'm sure, Naruto's had an amazing sensory skill since he was young, after all, Minato said. Still right now, the younger blonde's tall appeared in a spasm of golden energy, its length coming around to rest by his noggin, rubbing it. Oh, he's doing fine, Minato blinked before chuckling. Still, if Sage is right, he's got a ways ahead of him until he can use his blessed techniques. I wonder if that would stop him from using reverse cursed technique, Shoko considered. I mean, usually, it's about apply fum, and then shush followed by splush and finished off with him. After that, you repeat the process, she said like it was common sense. Oh, that's how that works? Satoru asked sarcastically. I just used it all over and I felt better. What a waste of energy. Yeah, no, I'm not dealing with that. Shoko-chan's explanations probably need a few more details, Kushina said as Minato walked and sat by his son. So, wait, divine dogs count as one shikigami? Geto asked, surprised, as the boy nodded. It feels like one thing, Megumi said as his pets licked Sumiki's cheeks, his sister's giggles getting a smile out of him. I can do any more than this because the other ones are scary. You can do more? Sumiki asked, holding the puppy's spirits in her arms with big bright eyes. That's amazing, Megumi. I might need to get stronger to get more. Geto smirked a bit at the boy's look of determination. It's obvious but not wrong. The boy's motivation was to make his sister happy, nothing bad. Then I'd like to know if you can do certain things with divine dogs, alright? The boy nodded. Guh. Rico laid flat on the mats, crocodile tears running down her face. He's like 3 feet tall. How is he beating? She whined as Sage chuckled. I'm fun-sized, he said like it was no big thing, Mei smirking as she walked over and picked him up. See? Oh God, I got beat by a simpleton. Now, there's no need to be mean to Sage-kun, Yaga said as Kawa giggled a bit. Simple is fine for a lot of people. But I'm special. Rico shot him with big watery eyes he leaned back from. You gotta have some ideas. I've got none. Yes, well, Kawa smiled brightly. Why not try and copy some of Kurama's skills? She offered as Yaga sighed in relief while Rico perked up. Of course. She jumped to her feet with a grin. Wait, what kind of things could he do again? Barriers were a skill Kurama had, Yutaheim said with some thought. Yaga-sensei? Barriers, energy control. Rico whined and he rubbed the back of his head. Right. Besides those two, Kurama had the ability to link with Naruto and expand his senses. Huh? Rico blinked. Well, me and Nero are supposed to be a cool team, but I need to have me skill, don't I? He's better than me at a lot of skills I have. Well, that's not wrong, but you have to try, Rico. I know. So, you know there are more shikigami you can summon to exorcise? Geto asked the boy with interest. That's how the 10 shadows technique works. That was rather enlightening. It was such a curious technique. Why yes, they're always here, Megumi pointed at his shadow. I know they're there. Curious. And you're not strong enough to exorcise them yourself, yet. I can see how this might get in the way, but you should probably focus on other things. The boy looked confused. Right now, Megumi-kun, you only have 2 shikigami. If they're destroyed, you need to fight a shikigami all on your own to gain another shadow. So, for now, you should focus on maximizing what you can do with divine dogs to make sure they don't die. The boy swallowed as his sister gasped. Why you gotta be careful? Kuro and Shiro are too cute to die. The girl said nervously. I know. The boy said quickly as Geto smiled. Anarchy. 1 week later. Days had passed since then, leaving them on the 2nd week of Naruto being conscious, and now prepared to go into the Zenin household to meet with the head, Nobito Zenin.